All right, guys, welcome to another stream. Wasn't planning on doing a stream today, but I thought, you know what, the streams have been going well. I might still make a video. Don't hold me to that. And all right, here's a good opportunity to all right, yeah. So as you can see, I this might be problematic. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. I'm trying to test a new format here to get some more exposure for my my channel members, but those who super chat. You can see it on screen that it looks like the text is kind of small, so that might be something I have to mess with later on. But nonetheless, there you are, trying to put more of a spotlight on people who are supporting me through super chats, channel members, the whole thing. So you're saying that's interesting. I feel exposed. Yeah, the text is really small. That's the thing, is I don't know. I don't know if I can alter that too much. I'll have to. Maybe I can. Maybe I can. Maybe I can shrink it down a little bit. See if I can mess with that really quick. Hold on. Give me a second. I'll see if I can do it. But yeah, we have some interesting stuff to talk about, guys. That is really small. That is really small. I can maybe I can bring it down to like, you know what it is? I got to see what the longer super chats look like first. Because I can move this over. Obviously, there's a lot of space, but I got to see how much space is taken up through text. So I'll mess around with that a little bit later. But either way, yeah, we got some interesting stuff to talk about. It's worth noting I just like made this like very quickly, impromptu, before the stream even started. So yeah, I'll have to mess with it later and see if I can get it looking better than it does. But nonetheless, if you want to support the stream, if you want to support my content, consider donating a super chat, consider becoming a channel member, and consider gifting channel memberships. Okay. That stuff is extremely helpful. I tell you guys all the time, I am fan funded. Couldn't do what I do here without your support. So, lazy MBG doing things fast. You know, it's not that. It's just at the last second, I was like, maybe I could do this and make it work. And yeah, that text is really small, man. I didn't think it. I knew it would be small. I didn't think it would be that small. Anyway, we got a couple topics to talk about today. There's one thing in particular that, yeah, I'm gonna have to talk about. I have some opinions on this. I have some things that I want to say, and that is the fact that Redfall is confirmed to only be 30 frames per second on the Xbox Series X. Not only that, but Arcane is coming out, Bethesda's coming out, and letting players know that if you want a performance mode, you're going to have to wait for it. It's going to come in a post-launch update. And there's, as far as I'm aware, there's no time frame for when that update is coming. So we're going to talk about that because I have some things I have to say. I do. And before anybody says it, aren't you a PlayStation-centric channel? Yes, I'm a PlayStation-centric channel, but it turns out that I can talk about what I want on this PlayStation-centric channel. And this is actually relevant to PlayStation. I have to wonder if all of the marketing surrounding these consoles and the power factor, if it really all was a bunch of bogus. So we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about Final Fantasy XVI being featured in a new PlayStation State of Play. This was announced yesterday, and as you can see on screen, that's what Sony announced. So this is actually happening tomorrow. State of Play presents more than 20 minutes of new Final Fantasy XVI gameplay this Thursday. So that's tomorrow at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern. I am going to be streaming that. So if you want to hang out with me, watch this new State of Play, check out some more Final Fantasy XVI, get hyped for it, tune into my stream, come hang out with me. It should be a good time. And, you know, I want to say that some people have expressed some disappointment, a little bit of disappointment that, you know, we're getting the announcement of a State of Play dedicated to Final Fantasy XVI. And I kind of understand. We've seen a lot of Final Fantasy XVI so far. It's understandable that people are feeling like, I want to see something new. I want to see a state of play that's going to show some new games. What about the PlayStation Showcase? It's all understandable. Yes, we've been seeing a lot of Final Fantasy 16, but what I think is good is that Sony clearly has a lot of confidence in this game to give it its own standalone. That's important to emphasize, a standalone state of play. We know that this is something that Sony has done many times for their big exclusive games in the past. And to me, it was a little bit strange that with God of War Ragnarok, for whatever reason, Sony decided not to do a dedicated state of play for God of War Ragnarok. I was quite surprised by that. Sony has traditionally done dedicated stated plays for pretty much all of their big hitter games, and God of War is kind of like a standout. It didn't get one. Maybe they didn't have the time. They did a video series, which is nice. Maybe they decided to do that instead. Am I going to be streaming the state of play? Absolutely. Yes, I will be streaming again tomorrow. So yeah, it's understandable. I get it. You know, we're very eager. We're very eager for a PlayStation showcase. We're very eager to, have Sony announce some new games, talk about some new games, make any kind of announcements. And yeah, we all want that, but it's April. It's April. Okay. And Final Fantasy's coming out in June. The rumor right now is that PlayStation is doing a showcase before Summer Game Fest. Summer Game Fest occurs on June 8th. So where it stands now, if the rumors are to be believed, if the insiders are to be believed, we will get a full-blown big Phase 2, as it's being called, Phase 2 of the PS5 PlayStation showcase before June 8th. Now, when we heard this rumor, I did not sit back and think, well, surely Sony's going to do a showcase in April. No, they're not. Sony's not doing a showcase in April. I don't think they would ever do a showcase in April. So, hearing that they're going to do this Final Fantasy 16 state of play now in the middle of April, that makes sense to me. This is a good spot. It's worth noting, we're probably going to get a release date for the upcoming Final Fantasy 16 demo. Some people may have forgotten, but it was confirmed that Final Fantasy 16 is going to be getting a demo, and it's going to release, I think, 2 weeks before the game's actual launch. So they'll probably announce that specific date, which I think is really cool. I'm definitely looking forward to that. I like it when we get game demos and can try them out. I think a lot of people feel like they don't need a demo for Final Fantasy 16, though, right? Like I feel like a lot of people are already sold on it. But yeah, I'm happy to see that we're gonna get this Final Fantasy 16 state of play. And before I move on and talk about Redfall, because I'll be honest, that this Redfall conversation is going to take up the bulk of this stream today, and I think you guys know that. I can only say so much about this Final Fantasy state of play, but I got a lot to say about this Redfall situation. Before I move on, I do want to say something that I do think is a good thing about Sony doing this dedicated state of play for Final Fantasy 16. It's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee. Okay. Deathloop proved that what I'm about to say is not a guarantee. But I'm thinking and I'm hopeful that, okay, we're getting the marketing of Final Fantasy 16 now. We're getting the dedicated state of play now. This is going to ensure that it really doesn't take up any space during the PlayStation Showcase. I don't think it needs to. By the time the PlayStation Showcase happens, we're going to be so close to the launch of Final Fantasy 16. I can expect a small trailer, 30, 45-second trailer, just, because there's going to be a lot of eyes on the showcase. But I'm saying, like, we're not going to be getting, like, a dedicated gameplay trailer, like a 5-10 minute game, whatever. They're doing 20 minutes state of play. It's not that I don't expect Final Fantasy 16 to show up at all going forward after this state of play that's happening tomorrow. But it's just that, I'm not worried about it taking up a lot of oxygen, I guess you could say, during the PlayStation Showcase. I don't think it needs to. Same can't be said for Spider-Man 2, though. We got to see some Spider-Man 2. So, yeah. Okay, well, that's pretty much it for the state of play topic. We're going to be talking a lot more about the state of play tomorrow, obviously. I'm going to emphasize once more before moving on, because new people are joining the stream. I am going to be streaming this state of play. 20 minutes, Final Fantasy 16 gameplay, deep dive. Game looks incredible. I'm excited for it. It's going to have a 60 FPS mode. It's going to launch with the 60 FPS mode. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for Microsoft's new exclusive The same cannot. I don't know why I said it like that. Yeah. Hold on here. Yeah, so Final Fantasy 16 is going to have a 60 FPS mode. It's going to launch with a 60 FPS mode. Redfall, oof. Oof. Not looking good, man. You know what's crazy is I was not expecting to be talking about Redfall again so soon. I really wasn't. You know what? I'm going to... All right, listen. This is going to sound strange. I'm going to read these super chats in a second. The next person who does a super chat, if you could do me a favor, it's going to look a little strange, but you'll help me out. Please type max out the character limit. Type the maximum amount of characters. You could say anything. You could just spam PlayStation, Xbox, Redfall, whatever you, or maybe, I don't know, construct a question or a statement that takes up the max amount of characters. Hit the character limit, because I want to see on screen here if I can, if I can adjust these super chats so they're a little bit bigger on screen. No, that's not expensive. I'm pretty sure that you're not paying for a character limit. You just pay for the super chat, and you can, you can max out the character. Even I think for like a $2 super chat, it lets you do that. You can max out the character limit. I'm pretty sure. Saying just raise the font. I see the way I'm doing it. It's not that simple. Because again, I did this just really quick on the fly. So, yeah, next person who super chats, consider doing that. Dude, I'm going to have like 5 people super chat at the same time. They're all going to be like spamming stuff. Character limit depends on price paid. Really? No way. How am I just learning this? Okay, never mind. I apologize. Don't do that. Do it if you want. I had no idea. Wow, I never knew that. I can't believe I've been doing this long and I never knew that. Subtext, you're saying your super chat was maxed. Okay, so that's the max for... Okay. Yeah, I could probably shrink it a little bit. That's insane. I never knew that. I don't know how I never knew that about this. All right, I'll shrink it a little bit. And if somebody donates a super chat and it gets cut off, I'll expand it. I think that's a little bit better, right? Is this still pretty small? I don't know. I'll leave it like that for now. Okay. Anyway, hit that like button, guys. We have almost 600 people here hanging out with me, which is awesome. I really appreciate that. Hit that like button. Show some support. Saying it's blurry. Is it blurry? Well, as long as you can read it, that's what matters. Again, I'm trying to shine a bit of a spotlight on my supporters here. So, let's see. Yeah, so let's talk about Redfall. I'm going to read these super chats before I do. Hickzock, you're saying, I really don't mind 30 FPS, but it has to be done well. Low input lag like Bloodborne, and be worth it graphically. Problem is Redfall looks kind of bad. Yeah, dude. Like I said, I was not expecting to be talking about Redfall again so soon, and I definitely didn't expect to be talking about this, of all things. I was legitimately bringing up the question, what about Starfield? Is Starfield going to get a 60 FPS performance mode? Because to be honest, I thought a 60 FPS performance mode for Redfall is a given. It has to be a given. It has to be a given, right? Just to find out that apparently it's not. Apparently it's not. So you're saying you don't mind 30 FPS? So that's the thing. Like, I'm not a believer in 30 FPS being unplayable. I'm not that type of person. I feel that at this point in time, mid 2023, current gen only games, it has to be an option. It has to be. Like, just because I'm tolerant of 30 FPS and others are tolerant of it, if that's like the only way to play a game, or not the only way, but maybe sometimes that's the way people prefer to play, because you get, all the extra bells and whistles. Again, as Hickzock says, has to be worth it graphically. If it's worth it graphically, just because some people choose to opt in for that, that doesn't justify this, in my opinion. It doesn't. I mean, I'll tell you right now, dude, if Sony came out with Spider-Man 2 and they were like, yeah, it's not launching with the 60 FPS mode, I'd be like, are you Are you well, Sony? Are you well? Something wrong? But that's the thing is Sony has conditioned their player base to not only expect a 60 FPS performance mode from their studios and from their exclusives, but they expect a lot more than just a 60 FPS performance mode at this point. They expect 120 FPS mode, right? 120 hertz mode. They expect VRR support. They expect all the bells and whistles. Saying shrink it a little bit. Yeah, I can afford to shrink it a little bit more. If I get a super chat that goes beyond this, I'll expand it. Sorry. I should have messed with this more before I wait. No, now see, I'm screwing it up. How do you guys feel about this though? All right, there we go. I think I got it lined up now. How are we feeling about this? How are we feeling about Redfall having a 30 FPS mode? Because, all right, you know what? Before we get into that, drinking game. How many times does MBG say super chat? I apologize for that. All right, yeah, I'm getting way too distracted. Subtext. You're saying the real challenge is that Game Pass model offers no incentive to improve the FPS. If you're not trying to sell a game, why delay until it's ready? Thank you. I'm glad you said it. Because if you didn't, I was going to say it at some point. And see, here's another problem. Now it's cutting it off. Now I'm getting annoyed. You'll show up at some point. Don't worry, you'll show up at some point. I'm glad you brought that up, man. I really am, because this is what I've been saying for a long time, and people think, MBG, you're just a Sony pony, man. Like, why are you talking about Game Pass? Why are you always talking about Game Pass? Why are you always talking about Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass? This is why I'm always talking about it. Because of this right here. The game needs to be delayed. They're not saying we can't do a 60 FPS performance mode, because we all know you definitely can. Redfall is very far from being a graphically demanding game. Okay? We all know this. This game can absolutely run at 60 frames per second. What actually needs to happen is the developers need time that they are not getting. I've seen Xbox fans out here calling for this game to be delayed, but it won't be delayed. Do you know why? Because of Game Pass. Because of Microsoft's bottom line when it comes to Game Pass. That's why. I mean, think about it. If you're Microsoft, what do you mean? You guys can't just wait for a 60 FPS patch? You're only paying $10 a month for this thing. What do you expect? You're already seeing it. This is what has frustrated me for years, is I've told people, like, you're going to see this happen. Yes, this is the Game Pass effect. And even Xbox fans at this point are going to start calling it out, as they should. This is exactly what I feared when it comes to the almighty subscription service. Lower price equals lower quality. It's extremely rare that that's not the way it goes. It's extremely rare. And I don't want to take away from Game Pass. I don't want to make it sound like everything about Game Pass is bad and disastrous. It's not. We know that. I had a comment from somebody yesterday where they pointed out all the games that launched day and date into Game Pass, and there's no denying that's quite a list of games. Some of them look pretty good. Some of them are pretty good. But I'm not talking about the third-party deals that Microsoft pays for. I'm not talking about the checks that Microsoft writes to third-party publishers to get their games day and date into Game Pass. I'm talking about their first-party exclusives, arguably the most important thing for their subscription service. Now, let's go over to Twitter here. Okay, so here we go. State of Play happening tomorrow. We're going to stream that. Tune into it. Let's move up here. Let's move up. So I saw this from Benji Sales. Okay, this is not necessarily relevant to Redfall. Maybe it is relevant to Redfall. I'm telling you, this is why Microsoft feels the pressure. This is why Microsoft is like, we got to get this game out now. Look at this. Benji Sales, he responded to somebody. Benji Sales came out and talked about how the Xbox console's not selling well. It's looking pretty bad. And he responded to an individual. This person said, well, if you're going to just keep comparing it to the PlayStation 5, no wonder why you'd come to this conclusion. Really dumb thing to say, because first off, he's not just comparing it to the PS5. He's clearly comparing it to the Xbox One, as well as other consoles. If you follow Benji Sales, which you should, because he's really good at what he does, really nice guy. Yeah, he's just reporting on data. The amount of bullshit this guy has had to deal with, just because he's out here saying things like this. He says, I'm comparing Xbox Series to Xbox One. In recent months, Xbox Series consoles are now selling at a similar level to what Xbox was in the same period. And people are getting pissed. People are getting pissed. Like, dude, he is just relaying the facts, people. Don't shoot the messenger. I quote tweeted this and I said, this is kind of surprising. I would have thought that the Xbox Series consoles would be doing better than this, especially because of the Xbox Series S. Also, the amount of backlash this guy has to deal with for simply reporting on data is sad. And it is sad. It is. For both sides, not just Xbox dudes, PlayStation dudes too. Like, chill the hell out. And it's, you know what's funny too? You know what's even sadder? Is if you check out what Benji Sales was saying, he even went on to explain that, like, he's not trying to take shots at Xbox. He thinks that they can turn it around. No problem. If they do the things they're supposed to do, they can turn it around. But basically what we need to focus on is right now, the Xbox Series consoles are selling at a similar rate that the Xbox One was. And the Xbox One was a colossal failure for Microsoft. And I mean what I said. I am surprised to hear this. Like, you have the Series S. This is the cheapest next-gen console, and you're still selling as poorly as the Xbox One? That's crazy. All right, let's keep it moving, though. Here we go. Here it is. In all its glory, the official Redfall Twitter account comes out. Redfall is launching on Xbox consoles with quality mode only. Xbox Series X, 4K, 30 frames per second. Xbox Series S, 1440p, 30 frames per second. 60 FPS performance mode will be added via game update at a later date, and they do not provide that date. I'm telling you, if they could provide a date, it'd be a lot better. Wouldn't be good. Still would be bad, but it'd be a lot better. Because at least people could say, okay, well, I'll wait to play the game at this date. But they won't. Even if they knew, even if they have an idea in their mind of what date they can release that 60 FPS performance patch, they're not going to do it because they know people are going to wait. In other words, you should probably just delay the game. Why wouldn't you just delay the game to that date? Now, I had a couple things to say here. First, I said, there's just no way. Are Xbox players really going to accept this and be okay with it? Also, if Redfall isn't launching with a 60 FPS performance mode, what should players expect for Starfield? Keep it moving. Went a little too far ahead there. That's the last one. That's going to be the fun. It's going to be fun to look at. I also wanted to put this out here. I said, you know what the saddest part about Redfall getting a performance mode in a later update and not at launch on the Xbox Series X? The game is clearly being rushed out the door. Microsoft is already doing the same thing with Bethesda that they did with their own studios. Can't say I'm surprised. And you know what? There were people, I'm not going to bother diving into the replies, but there were some people who kind of were like, yo, man, this ain't Xbox's fault. This isn't Xbox. This is Bethesda. Because remember, MBG, Bethesda operates independently. This has been confirmed. And I'm thinking, okay. So it's totally cool to really hammer home the point that Microsoft owns Bethesda. Hey, that's why they can cancel the PS5 Redfall. Okay, sure. You're right. They own them. They can do whatever the hell they want. So we can point that out. Yeah, Microsoft bought them and owned them. They have complete ownership. Ownership matters. Ownership justifies the cancellation of the PS5 version. Fine, I'm in agreement. I am in 100% agreement. You are correct. But suddenly, when the shit hits the fan and things start to go wrong, things start to go south, well, that's Bethesda. That's not Microsoft's fault. Oh, wait, hold on. I thought they owned them. I mean, if you own them, you're responsible for them. The bottom line ends with Microsoft, not Bethesda anymore. Right? So, with this logic in mind, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, if this is due to Bethesda's incompetence, Arcane's incompetence, because they couldn't get a 60 FPS mode ready in time for launch, Microsoft has to hold them accountable for that. Microsoft is the one who has to be aware that this is a slap to the face. Frankly, it is. Some people might say it's an exaggeration. I'm going to tell you it's not an exaggeration. You know what's an exaggeration? Microsoft's marketing. Microsoft's obsession with the power narrative and the teraflops. And their fan base's obsession with it. So it is a slap to the face. When you market the shit out of your console, world's most powerful console. This is why you want to buy it over the PlayStation 5, over any other console. This is why you want it, right? Power. Best games. Go watch the Xbox YouTube channels. They'll tell you every day, all day about just how much better the Xbox versions of games will be. But that's not what's happening. Just catching up with the chat here. So, at the end of the day, this is Microsoft's fault. Even if it is Bethesda, even if Bethesda is the reason, even if this studio is not competent enough to get a 60 FPS mode running, it doesn't matter. Microsoft, you bought them, you own them, the buck stops with you. And the fact that there are fans that are out here trying to displace the blame, rather than displacing the blame, point the finger at Microsoft and tell them, I didn't pay $500 for the world's most powerful console, for the Xbox Series X, to be told that I'm going to have to wait at launch to play my game at 60 frames per second. That's what you should do, rather than placing the blame on Bethesda. You should be telling Microsoft, delay this game. But they won't. Doesn't matter if you ask. At least, look, I would be shocked if Microsoft delayed this game. Maybe they will. Maybe they will. Maybe the backlash will be so severe that they'll decide we're going to delay it. But I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. Because they know at the end of the day, it's the Game Pass defense. Well, it's Game Pass. It's cheap. This is what the best deal in gaming gets you guys. And look, if you want to come at me and say, well, what about all these other games? That's fine. That's fine. If that's what you want to use to justify this, that's fine. Maybe you're not interested in Redfall. Maybe you don't care. But you know what? My problem and the bone I have to pick is with Microsoft Studios and their incompetence. It's shining through once again. They already fucked Halo. So I guess they're just willing to fuck Redfall too. This is the same video game publisher that came out and said, yeah, Halo Infinite's going to be ready for the launch of the Xbox Series X. Actually, turns out it's not. We need another year, and it's still not going to be 100% ready. Same publisher comes out. Here's what you're going to be playing in the next 12 months. That's right, Starfield's coming, baby. Actually, it turns out Starfield's going to need another year. See, my problem isn't that games need to get delayed. My problem isn't that games need time. We all know this. My problem is that Microsoft doesn't seem to fucking understand how game development works. Because if they did, they wouldn't keep coming out here announcing these games, saying this is when it's coming, this is when it's coming, just to delay them. And then when they finally show them again, it's just, a lot of times it's not looking too good. Like, I just don't understand how this keeps happening. But here's the icing on the cake. Microsoft's Aaron Greenberg. Xbox's Aaron Greenberg. May 7th, 2020. Building up to the launch of the world's most powerful console. 60 FPS will be the standard output. But the architecture allows us to support up to 120 frames per second. Oh, cool. Cool. Very cool. Glad I listened to Aaron Greenberg on this one. Sad, dude. Sad day. Sad day for Xbox players, in my opinion. I love how the chat is, I mean, I see a lot of positivity in the chat, but sometimes this shit catches my eye. It's just so funny to me that it's like, isn't it a little too early to be console warring, MBG? Like, that's what you have to say? Like, that really, that's the best you can come up with in a scenario like this. Stop console warring, man. Are you kidding me, dude? Like, dude, he's in pain right now, man. He is in pain right now. I'll tell you, that dude woke up punching air today. Because you know what? I may be sitting here console warring a little too early. But you're here watching, buddy. Which I appreciate. But, goddamn, dude. What's worse? The dude streaming himself console warring? Or the dude that says, I'm going to tune into this stream to tell this guy to stop console warring? You tell me. I'm sorry, man. Like, it's frustrating. I've been like, this is what I've been trying to point out to people for the longest time. And let me bring the other tweet up. That of course, Aaron Greenberg's gonna say the console's gonna hit 60. But I want to bring this up. I want to keep this up right here. This right here. Redfall, 30 frames per second on the world's most powerful console. I don't know, man. People keep saying, oh, MBG, you're being so toxic. Why? Dude, look, man, if this is being toxic, then screw it. I'm toxic. But I'm not. I'll be damned if I'm going to deal with all this shit for years from the Xbox fan base, from the Xbox dudes. These motherfuckers were out here just last week, literally celebrating the news about PSVR 2. I mean, they are out here. They smell the blood in the water. Vocal minority, maybe that's true. But let me tell you, this vocal minority has more influence than you would think. I came across a tweet, okay? Check this shit out. I saw this morning, and I was like, there's no way. I was literally like looking around, like, there's no way people are actually this brainwashed. And they are. This tweet I came across, I forget who it was. It was a person who clipped Colin Moriarty. I think it was on his latest podcast episode, but it was a 2-minute clip, and it was talking about the Activision deal. And he was basically saying, I'm paraphrasing, of course. You have to listen to exactly what he says. But he's basically saying that what Microsoft is doing by buying major video game publishers is not something that's ever really been done in the industry before. Sony nor Nintendo have done this. He then went on to explain that there's clearly a difference in the way that Sony handles their studios and their talent compared to how Microsoft handles their talent. You know, he's just making sense. He's just telling the truth, right? Because everything Colin Moriarty said is absolutely true. Microsoft is the first one making moves like this in this industry. We've never seen it before. Sony's never done it. Nintendo's never done it, right? And he's also speaking the truth by just claiming that over the years, we've clearly seen a big difference between PlayStation studio games and Xbox studio games. These are just facts. And I shit you not, when I went to go look in those replies, the most upvoted by like 120 upvotes. It was like 120 people agreed with what this dude replied. Again, I'm paraphrasing. He essentially said, so everybody gets mad when Microsoft does it, but Sony's been doing this the entire time. Last I checked, Sony bought all of their studios and publishers. And he literally, dude, I'm telling you, I had to restrain myself. He literally said, Sony bought publishers. And people were just like, yeah, they did. Okay, maybe Bungie self-publishes, but do we really consider Bungie a major publisher on the scale of Bethesda, Activision, Ubisoft, Square Enix? I don't think so. I think that's pushing it a little bit. But even then, it's like, dude, this is what he was saying, and he was basically saying it's the same, dude. What are you talking about? And I also want to point out, just because I know I'm paraphrasing Colin Moriarty. Colin Moriarty did say that Microsoft buying publishers and using their money to do business is a perfectly viable way to run their business and to do their business. He wasn't sitting there saying that they shouldn't be allowed to do this. I wanted to make that clear as well. But I came across this tweet, and it's not what the dude said. Because in my opinion, that dude he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. You're actually sitting here trying to compare when Sony bought Naughty Dog in 2001, right? And got them to make Jak and Daxter. You're trying to fucking compare that to Microsoft buying Bethesda and Activision Blizzard? You're trying to compare Bungie to Activision Blizzard. The dude had no idea what he was talking about, but believe me when I tell you, the amount of people that came across that tweet and said, yeah, this dude's right. Yeah, I'm going to click the heart on that. I'm going to retweet that. So it may be a vocal minority, but holy shit, are they damaging people's perception and distorting their reality with bullshit. So I'm fucking glad to see that the reality comes out. The fucking reality that Aaron Greenberg lied. That's right. The head of Xbox marketing lied right to your faces. The new standard, 60 FPS. Buy our console. Flash forward 2.5 years later. Yeah, Redfall is going to be 30 frames per second. You'll get a 60 FPS patch later on. Please subscribe to Game Pass. But let's cheer on Microsoft. Let's cheer them on because you're the best deal in gaming. Please continue to buy publishers. Continue to buy publishers. Because look at what you're doing. Good work. You're doing good work. Now, I want to say, because I know I'm being hard on Xbox, and I'm not even, to be honest, I want to give credit where it's due. I've seen some dedicated Xbox fans coming out here calling Microsoft out, calling Arcane out. And I want to make that clear. I've seen people calling them out. So I'm not trying to group everybody together. There are loyal Xbox fans, dedicated Xbox fans who are turning to Arcane, turning to Microsoft saying this is unacceptable. And I think that's good. I think that's exactly what needs to happen because in my opinion, the only way Microsoft corrects this situation is by coming out tomorrow and announcing that Redfall's delayed and it's not releasing until the 60 FPS patch is ready to go. Not even patch. It's baked into the game as it should be. It's there day one. Whether you're subscribed to Game Pass, I want to remind people, Microsoft is asking anybody who wants to purchase and own this video game and doesn't want to rent it through Game Pass, they're asking for $70. Okay? Just want to make that clear. So I don't want to make it sound like the entire Xbox community is out here defending this. The majority of them are probably pretty upset about this. But I just hope that going forward, dude, I hope that these vocal minority who clearly have a significant influence and know it, I hope that they remember this shit because they're going to need to, because they want to tell me all the time about how, dude, Game Pass is the future of gaming, bro, and Microsoft having all these studios is going to be good for the industry. It's all good. Is it all good? Doesn't seem like it's all good to me. And yes, for those wondering, if Sony comes out at some point in the future and they come out and they say, hey, we're going to ask you for $70 for this game, but there isn't going to be a 60 FPS performance mode. It's going to come later on. Yeah, I'm going to give them just as much shit. I'm going to give them just as much shit. But that's the thing. I'll be honest. I don't expect Sony to do that. I do expect better from Sony, where it's like, look, man, every game you've released, your studios have been killing it. You've been giving them the time needed. I mean, look, I've been going berserk on Sony for the past year and a half, talking about how they're not doing a showcase. But, you know, I can't help at times like this think, maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay, because if the idea is we're not doing a showcase because things aren't ready yet, then we're gonna give them the time. So that way we don't run into situations like this. Here's Spider-Man 2, get hype, 60 FPS performance mode. That's gonna come later. If that's why I'm not hearing anything about Spider-Man 2, then that's fine. Just finish the game. Dude, I'll be honest, I really would have thought Microsoft would have learned from Halo. I really thought Microsoft would have, and that to me is like, this is why I'm trying to encourage people to stop fucking cheering Microsoft on. This is why I've said over and over again that Microsoft has something to prove. And this is it right here with their games that they own. They have something to prove. I'm not talking about, oh, well, they got Wo Long Fallen Dynasty and Lies of P in the Game Pass. That's great. Those are great reasons to subscribe to Game Pass if you're interested. But if you care about the Xbox brand, if you care about Xbox Studios, you have to be able to look at this and say, this is a problem. This has been a problem. It's not going away. It's not stopping. So you have to ask the question, who is responsible for this? Who is responsible for the constant bullshit coming out of Microsoft? They go an entire fucking year, all of 2022, with no major first-party releases, to where people are out here telling me, Lies of P, bro. Lies of P. Or not Lies of P, fucking High on Life. Lies of P looks great, by the way. High on Life. No offense to High on Life, but that's the champion of Xbox in 2022. And the champion of Xbox in 2023 right now is Hi-Fi Rush. And no offense to that game, but that should not be their champion. Redfall should be the champion right now, not Hi-Fi Rush. People shouldn't be saying, well, if Redfall is a complete fucking disaster, it's okay because we got Hi-Fi Rush. Like, no, dude. No. It's worse. It's worse because Hi-Fi Rush was already done. Hi-Fi Rush was a game that was already in development. This game, yes, it's true. Redfall was already in development before Microsoft acquired them, but this is where Microsoft can step in and prove that they know what to fucking do as a publisher. Delay the game. For your fans, for the people that you asked to buy your powerful console. It's insanity to me that Microsoft still hasn't learned, dude. They approved this. They said to Arcane, they said to Bethesda, yeah, just put that tweet out. They'll get it in a post-launch patch. It's fine. No, it's not fine. This is why Halo fucking died. And the fan base doesn't even fucking care. Not the Halo fan base. I'm not talking about them. They do care. Like the hardcore Halo players are like, what the hell did you do, Microsoft? They do care. I'm talking about, as people call it, the vocal minority. Well, they're extremely vocal. They don't give a shit. They're too busy hyping up. Well, we got Activision now, baby. Who cares about well, everybody cares about Call of Duty, apparently. Who cares about Halo? I'm fucking tired of it, man. I'm tired of it. And they should be too. God damn, man. All these are the same dudes that are putting memes of Jim Ryan's crying face on their thumbnails and in their memes and shit. Well, I hope you fucking make a meme of this. Go take Aaron Greenberg's face and make a fucking thumbnail for that. Put his tweet in your thumbnail, in your meme. Telling you, man, I'm telling you, dude. You see these people? They jump at every opportunity. People say that's what I do for Xbox. You know what people won't tell you what I've said about Xbox? Any of the good things. Yeah, it turns out I got more bad things to say about Xbox than good things because I think a lot of the things they're doing are not that great when it comes to actual game development. It's just crazy to me that it's like, if the idea is we're going to buy Bethesda and we're going to let them be autonomous, we're going to let Bethesda take care of their own business as usual, okay, that's fine. But I guess that just means now that you own them and you're correct me if I'm wrong, but when you boot up Redfall, when you boot up Starfield, you're going to see Xbox Game Studios logo in the beginning. Are you not? So they're part of Xbox Game Studios. Last I checked, that's Microsoft. They're your studios. What good is it buying a publisher that if they're going to fuck up and if they're going to screw up, just saying, well, okay. I don't know, man. I do not understand. Anyway, I have some super chats I'm going to read. All right, let me see. Where did I leave off here? Michael Lynch. You're saying, with as much talk and hype for upcoming showcase, you think if it wasn't true, Sony would come out and deny it. I think it's true. Sony's going to do a showcase because they have to. That's the thing. That's the thing about Sony doing a showcase is like, I mean, we don't know what month they're going to do it exactly. We don't have the date, but they don't, like, other than Spider-Man, they don't have a roadmap. There's no roadmap for Sony. And I have criticized them for that. Dude, I'm telling you, people come at me. I get that they don't like that I'm talking like this about Xbox and Xbox's games. And they come at me like, well, you know, Sony's dry as shit. They haven't had anything. Dude, if you've been paying attention to my channel, you'll know all I've been saying is, Sony, you gotta come out. You gotta have a roadmap. You gotta start announcing shit. This is getting crazy. People will not react. I'm telling you, these motherfuckers will not react to my stream I did last Thursday where I absolutely shit on Sony and Jim Ryan for their statements and their comments. No one will touch that. They'll touch this, but that doesn't exist. But PlayStation's gonna have to do a showcase because they don't have they don't have a roadmap. I swear, man. So yeah, Sony's gonna do a showcase. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. This summer, they have to. They have Spider-Man coming out apparently in September. This fall has been officially confirmed. Yeah, they have to do a showcase. My only question is, how big is it going to be? Right? Like, how big is their showcase going to be? How exciting are their announcements going to be? Because I'll tell you right now, I think Sony, they have to have a killer showcase. I'm sorry, but Sony can't get away with like a 30, 40 minute, like, okay, we'll just show a couple games. No. You got to come out swinging. It's been too long. You took the extra year. This is supposed to be phase 2 of the PS5. I'm expecting big things. And I think everybody should. I think that's a totally fair expectation. And that's the thing, is I have confidence in Sony because Sony delivers. Sony doesn't rush. They plan. They strategize and they deliver. And that may sound ridiculous to some people, but is it not true? I mean, you can criticize Sony for a lot of things this generation, but one of the things, in my opinion, you cannot criticize them for, you can't say they haven't delivered games. You can't say they haven't consistently had content. And I would argue that what we're experiencing right now is the worst of it. This is the worst of it. And even then, we got Forspoken in PSVR 2, and maybe that's underwhelming to some people, but this is the worst of it right now. Chris B, a member for 31 months. Thank you, man. You're saying, hey, why all the complaints? It's free on Game Pass. Yeah, I love that. I love that terminology. It's free on Game Pass. Yeah, it's not free. You're still paying for it. I mean, to a lot of people, they'll make it sound like $10 is nothing when you compare it to what you're getting. And yeah, it's like, yeah, that's a great, for the amount of games you're getting. Same thing with PS Plus Extra, $10, $15, the amount of games you're getting. It's a good deal. It's a great deal, but it's not free. It's not free. Unless you're, I don't know, apparently there was a loophole. I don't know. I think Microsoft closed that loophole. There was some kind of loophole or something where people were like exploiting the $1, which at $1 may as well be free. But I think recently Microsoft got rid of the $1 deal. Irate Volcano 71, you're saying, with Xbox continuing to release games with this kind of quality in their games and allowing it, how do they expect to succeed? It's what we've been saying. It's what I've been trying to say, man. They expect to succeed by, number one, offering the best deal in gaming, the cheapest deal in gaming, and number two, buying publishers, securing what would be considered must-have IP that they didn't make. That's how they're going to do it. And people make it sound like I'm insane for not respecting that. People make me sound like I'm some kind of crazy person out here that's like, I don't think that's the right way to go about it. And you know, I get it. Like, from a consumer level, people are like, well, I'm not complaining. I get it. I get more games in Game Pass. Okay, that's fair. That's totally fair. But I'm not just looking at it from the consumer level. I'm thinking there's a systemic problem in Microsoft with their publishing unit, with the way they manage their studios. I'm sorry, but I don't think buying publishers is going to fix that. I mean, it can help Game Pass succeed, yes. It can get them to a place of potential success, for sure, in the long run. But it's not, and to be honest, I don't know that Microsoft can fix the problem at this point. I've given up. To be honest, I've given up. If they delay Redfall and they come out and when they talk more about Starfield, if they delay Redfall and then when Starfield comes out, they're like, yeah, it does have a 60 FPS performance mode. At that point, I'll be like, okay, maybe you guys are starting to get it now. Like, you can't just expect to launch these games without these critical features that people expect and just say, we'll add it later. You're getting it in Game Pass. What's the big deal? To me, that's not going to help them succeed. That's, in my opinion, that's not going to get people to subscribe to Game Pass. Microsoft has to know this. You know, I've seen a lot of people make the argument in the past that, well, Game Pass still demands quality. Yes, it does, because Game Pass is not free. If you remain subscribed to Game Pass, it adds up and it becomes expensive. To remain subscribed to Game Pass for 1 year, that's the equivalent of practically 2 full-price games. Close enough to it, anyway. So you should still be expecting, like, if the 2 big exclusive titles for Microsoft this year that are going to launch in the Game Pass are Redfall and Starfield, you absolutely should expect those 2 games to be very close to what you would expect paying $60 for a game. Himanshu Yadav, you're saying, as a PC gamer, I don't care. That's the good thing with Microsoft. They launch day and date. And I'm just hoping it's optimized on PC. But hey, at least it won't be as bad as The Last of Us. Well, I would hope not, dude. Jesus, that would be Could you imagine if Redfall? Could you imagine if Redfall launched day and date on the PC Game Pass if it was in the same state as that would be bad, dude. That'd be bad. But yeah, no, there's no way. There's no way Redfall's going to be as bad as The Last of Us. The Last of Us was I don't know what the hell Sony was thinking there. Everything the exact same thing I'm saying right now applies to Sony on the PC front. Like, Sony, next time delay your fucking game before you release it on PC. Please, for the love of God. Like, don't start ruining your reputation now. But I mean, on PS5, it's fine. Well, you're saying you don't care. I don't know, Himanshu. I think you should care a little bit, dude, because it's, you know how I care about the fact, like, I'm not a PC gamer. I don't play games on PC. I'm not spending money on The Last of Us on PC. Because you bring up The Last of Us. I could, if I wanted, just say, well, I don't give a fuck. Not my problem. Buy a PS5. Buy it on PS5. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the opposite of that. I'm saying I do care because I don't want to be indifferent to a company that I'm either supportive of or I'm interested in their products. Let's just say I'm interested in their products. I don't want to be indifferent to them pulling something like this, even though it doesn't affect me, because I have to then question why they're willing to do that in the first place. And you should be asking that same question. Even if you're going to buy the game on PC, you're saying you hope that's optimized on PC. I don't know, man. Like, we'll have to see. Hopefully it is. But I wouldn't be shocked if PC is going to have its own suite of problems, potentially. The game is clearly coming in hot. I think that's what people need to realize. The game is coming in hot. So what you should be doing, in my opinion, is exactly what I'm doing, which is, Microsoft, dude, what are you doing, man? Like, you got to get it together. But here's the difference between Sony and Microsoft. This is not justification, it's just truth. Sony has earned a hell of a lot more goodwill with their games than Microsoft has, in my opinion. Like, to me, looking at what happened with The Last of Us on PC is an extreme outlier. Like, I've never seen Sony do something like that. That's like the first time I've ever seen something like that bad, right? Where it's like, dude, The Last of Us, an extremely important IP, completely disastrous launch. What happened? What went wrong? But it's not like this is a pattern and consistent, and it's not like this is happening after Sony just completely ruined the God of War series or the Horizon series. And this is what I'm saying, like, people are getting upset that I'm saying this about Redfall, and they're holding on, dude. They're holding on to anything. It's like, well, this may be true about Redfall, but what about PSVR 2 sales? Like, what about them, bro? Like, we're getting negative reports that it's not doing that good. Like, what do you want me to say? Well, what about that thing that Jim Ryan said about not being able to recover? Yeah, pretty fucking stupid. You're right. But that doesn't make it so we just ignore what's happening right now. We got to call this shit out for what it is, man. Whether it's Sony or Microsoft. Yeah, I have a bias and a preference towards PlayStation. But I'll be damned. Like I said, if I'm going to sit here day in and day out and have these dudes come at me and you know, get on their high horse and make it sound like, damn, dude, PlayStation fans suck. Because PlayStation sucks. Xbox, though, man, we got the best deal in gaming and ain't nothing going wrong here. Like, no, I'm pretty sure there's shit going wrong on all sides, and we should acknowledge it. But you should probably acknowledge that shit's going a little bit more wrong on your side and has been for quite some time. I think people forget, dude, this is why I fucking left Xbox. People were very supportive of me back when I basically turned to Crackdown 3 and said, what the fuck is this shit? Crackdown 3 was the straw that broke the camel's back. And people came at me and they're like, dude, yeah, this isn't looking good. I'm trying to figure out what about Redfall looks so dramatically better. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Different games. One's a first-person shooter. It's got co-op. Okay. Yeah, there are differences. But people come at me when I come out here and I'm questioning, like, dude, Redfall does not look like a AAA, like $70 polished video game. And it's not going to run like one either, because it's going to be capped at 30 FPS if you're on Xbox. It's just, dude, I'm having like flashbacks, bro. I'm having flashbacks. And it's crazy because I'm like, what the fuck has changed? What has changed? And again, if the point that people want to make is MBG, what's changed is look at all the other games that Microsoft is putting in the Game Pass. I accept that. If that's what's attracting people to Game Pass, that's totally fair. But I'm not just focused on that. I'm focused on Microsoft Studios, Microsoft first party. I have been waiting for literal years to see them do something great. And here we are. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm a glutton for punishment. Maybe I am the problem, sitting around still waiting and believing and thinking that surely things are going to get better, right? But you know what? That's the thing, though, is it's even when I decide to throw in the towel, and say, you know what? Microsoft isn't going to be like Sony. They're not going to be able to make these really great, amazing AAA games. They're going to either have to buy them and pass them as their own, which is fine, totally viable, right? Like, they can do that. Sony does that, right? But when it comes to like their own studios and the things that they're in charge of running and maintaining, I should just let it go. It's not going to happen. But it's hard to do that, again, when I'm seeing people kind of come out here and like constantly talk about how, like, oh, dude, it's happening. They're doing it. And I'm like, oh, are they? Let me see. And then I see Redfall. I'm like, what? I don't know, man. Shit's all fucked up. Redfall didn't exist for MBG last week. You're wrong about that, dude. I had a stream where I lost my shit. I'll probably lose my shit this stream, too. I care too much about graphics. Well, I mean, the irony here is we're not talking about graphics. We're talking about performance, man. All right, let me keep this going. I apologize keeping you guys waiting. Chris B, you're saying it's weird they're not trying a 40 FPS / 120 hertz mode, though. Well, dude, I'm telling you, like, I don't doubt Arcane. That's to me, that's the scariest part about this, is I don't think it's not Bethesda's lack of competence. I don't think it's Arcane. Like, I don't think Arcane is an incompetent studio that they're like, we can't figure out how to get this to run at 60 FPS. You're right. They probably could do a 40 FPS mode, 120 hertz mode, but they need the time. This game is not ready for prime time, man. It's not. And you can tell. Even I watched gameplay of it yesterday, and it's painfully obvious. Like, dude, this needs more time in the oven. It does. I saw an image that was literally bringing me back to Craig, bro. Do you guys remember that? When we first saw Halo, Microsoft thought that was acceptable. This game's ready to go in 6 months or something like that. And everybody's like, the fuck was that? I need to know what people are seeing with Redfall that's so much different. What's so different? I'm serious, dude. Like, what's different from Redfall to Halo Infinite to Crackdown 3? What is different? They all share the same qualities, and the quality is it doesn't fucking look good enough. It doesn't look ready. But Microsoft is like, this is good. I mean, of course, they're all different games, obviously. But I'm saying in terms of, like, you know, like, does anybody remember how like Halo Infinite was trying to really come off as like next gen technology? We're gonna have those Sony graphics, and they couldn't do it. They got laughed at, dude. They got literally laughed at. Domino's back in 2020. This was some of the funniest shit I've ever seen. Domino's dunked on Microsoft for Craig. How do you not learn from that? How do you not walk away from that being like, we got to change some shit? And they did. Microsoft did change some shit. They bought some publishers, but it's happening again, man. MBG, private the stream right now. I mean, dude, it's look, man, it's obvious. Like, I don't know if you guys know this. I am damned if I do, and I am damned if I don't. I could not say a word about this. Wouldn't make much of a difference, dude. These people who have a problem with me, these people who don't, dude, there are a lot of people out there, at least based off of what I could see, they're there, where they're like, they have this mentality where like, you better not talk about Xbox, or if you do, you better watch what you say. We're watching you. We're watching, MBG. Like, we got you in our sights. It's like, dude, I know. Nothing new there. Nothing new there, dude. They get pissed because they see that I'm willing to shit on Sony when it has to happen. They see that I'm willing to call out Sony and fucking just dig into them and yell at Sony just like I am now. Like, what are you doing? They see that, but they see that I'm still willing to do it for Xbox as well. And so they hang on to any little thing they can where, well, are you even going to play the game? Like, why the fuck would I? Suddenly, previews don't matter. Suddenly, unless you're committed to buying a video game and or subscribing to a service, you can't have an opinion on a game. Suddenly, things like previews and listening what and watching your own gameplay and listening, none of this matters anymore. It's crazy to me, dude. The shit that people, it's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? It makes zero sense. Makes less than 0 cents. So you're talking about Redfall because it's bad news. Guess you must have missed the podcast where I said, "Hey, Redfall, I don't know, man." Let me ask you: Did you watch my January stream when I streamed the Xbox Direct? No, I don't think you did. Because if you did, you'd know that I was actually I made it clear, like, that's the main reason I'm tuning into this, because I actually have a bit of interest in Redfall. I do. But guessing you weren't there for that. Saying, dude, you bashed that stream. I'll be honest, after I saw what they presented for Redfall, I gotta admit, I wasn't shitting on it like I am now, because it was presented a lot better than what we're seeing now. Like, this is weird to me, but I did basically walk away being like, I was interested in Redfall. Don't know that I'm so interested in it anymore. And even then, though, like, if you listen to what I was saying about Redfall after that, I was still saying, like, it looks like it has potential, and it still does. Like, I don't want to make it sound like Redfall looks like a fucking, like, 3 out of 10 game. Like, no. It doesn't look anything like that, okay? It doesn't look anything like a 3 out of 10 game. It's just that I watched these gameplay presentations. Like, dude, people were telling me yesterday, like, go watch Colt Eastwood's video, bro. Like, he really showed that game. I was like, well, okay, because everybody was telling me, like, dude, that IGN gameplay, don't go on that. And I admit, whoever was playing that IGN gameplay, like, I don't know what the fuck they were doing. They didn't know what they were doing. But I wasn't just watching the player. I'm looking at the boss enemy, dude. That the boss in this game is like you could tell it's like missing animations, dude. It's insane. So I went to Colt Eastwood's channel, and it's no offense to him. No offense to him. Like, people were telling me, like, dude, he did a good job on this video. So I'm watching his video, and I'm like, yeah, the presentation's a lot better. Clearly, like, he was presenting the game in a much more palatable way. Like, really selling it. Like, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, he's clearly enthusiastic about the game. And then I'm watching the gameplay, and dude, anytime I'm seeing combat, these enemies are just standing there. They're just cannon fodder. And I'm not saying this to say you shouldn't be excited about the game. You shouldn't play the game. You shouldn't support Redfall. Dude, like what you like. Play what you play. Go subscribe to Game Pass. Pay $70 for this game for all I fucking care. It's your money. Do what you want, bro. But I'm saying, like, I don't know, man. To me, that ain't looking too great. It's not. Redfall does not even remotely look like a $70 game to me. And I'm sorry, dude. Any hope there may have been is gone now. Because I can see what Microsoft's doing with Redfall. I can see what Microsoft's doing with Redfall, and I don't support that shit. I don't. I feel bad for Arcane because Arcane has to deal with all this backlash right now, right? But I promise you, this isn't Arcane's decision. I promise you. If Arcane had it their way, they would delay the game. Probably by like a month, maybe 2 months or something. And I hope if Microsoft's smart, they do that. Because it's crazy, dude. All right, let me see. Max, you're saying one thing I will say. The Xbox community is very good at holding Microsoft accountable. Xbox One mess and gold price hike comes to mind. I mean, in extreme circumstances, yeah. But this is where it's like, how many times does a cycle have to repeat itself? Don't get me wrong. PlayStation fans have had to do the same thing. There have been some extreme circumstances with Sony as well, where it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And they had to reverse course real quick. This is business, man. This is the negative side of business, where at times these companies, these billion, trillion-dollar companies, sometimes they become so out of touch. They just think that they can do things, and they're convinced people are going to love this, and or at the very least, they'll be perfectly fine with it. And they find out real quick, no, people don't love that. They despise that. And they find out real quick, man. So I will agree that in extreme circumstances, yes, they are good at doing that. And they should be. And I think this is kind of... Look, I don't think this is nearly as extreme as, like, we're going to double the price of Xbox Live Gold. That was bizarre, bro. I don't know what the hell that was about. Like, I don't know who inside of Microsoft was like, yeah, let's just announce a doubling of the price of Xbox Live Gold. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And they did it. It's weird, man. I don't think this is as extreme as that, no. But to me, this is representative. The reason why, to me, this is a bigger deal. Like, I know what people are going to do. People are going to come to my stream and they're going to try to downplay it, or they're going to react to my stream, or whatever. Going to be like, dude, what? Like, all this just because no 60 FPS? Like, dude, if you can't see that this is indicative of a systemic problem that has existed within Microsoft for literally years, then I don't know what to tell you. But it should be obvious by now. Yes, this situation pretty much sums up Xbox. Look, I don't expect people to get as extreme as me, right? Like, I'm not saying everybody should be out here screaming and ranting. You know, this is just how I am on my channel. But at the very least, I'm just trying to encourage people, like, just make Microsoft aware that this shit shouldn't be allowed to fly. It should be considered unacceptable. You know? Hey, that's what they told me to do. Remember when The Last of Us Part 1 was announced to be $70? You remember? And they were like, MBG, you should say something, man. That's crazy. And you know, I did fucking say something. I'm like, damn, Sony, $70? 70? I made multiple videos on it. People got pissed at me, but dude, that's how I felt. I felt like this is... Look, I love The Last of Us. It's one of my favorite games of all time, but $70 is... Come on, Sony. It's pushing it too far. I'm not going to sit here and pump that up, you know? Like, I'm not going to say, yeah, Sony, you should charge 70 for that. No, I don't think you should. I think you should lower it to at least 50. And they didn't. They didn't. And I felt like even still, I don't know if it's still sold at $70. I'm sure it is on the PlayStation Store. It's still like, what? That's too much, man. You're saying not a full live video dedicated to Sony. It's a big difference. Well, I don't know, man. This is why I try to encourage people. I will admit, I have been streaming more lately. But my reason for streaming rather than just making a video, to be honest, dude, like, the logic doesn't hold up because realistically, if I made a dedicated video on this subject, it would definitely get more viewership. I would get more eyes on that video than this stream. That's the truth. And I still might make a video. I don't know. It depends. I have other things I have to make a video on, talk about. But that's the reality. I actually get less viewership on my streams than I do my videos. Understandable. It's long-form content. It's not going to be as widely appealing or as, palatable. All right, let me see. Where am I here? I think. New Soul 9, you got 2 super chats in a row here. I appreciate it, bud. You're saying, I agreed with you. I think some of your, I apologize. I'm going to have to mess with that after the stream. Some of your text is cut off, but also I'll read the whole thing, obviously. You're saying, I agreed with you, MBG. I'm not happy that I don't have a 60 FPS. I'm going to give Microsoft shit for this. At the same time, people are going to complain that it's delayed. MBG, I also agreed with you that if you own something, you are responsible for it 100%. That's like the team analogy. When a team doesn't do well, the coach wants to put the blame on the players. And you have a third one down here where you say, I love Game Pass, but if this is what I'm going to get, I'm going to give Microsoft shit, triple shit. I'm honestly mad as hell. Well, that's the thing, New Soul 9, is like, that's what's so bizarre about this situation. Truthfully, what's bizarre about it is, like, I have no doubt that people are ready and willing to give Microsoft shit for this, but I am over here baffled that, like, how is Microsoft putting themselves in this position again? Again, dude. Like, after Halo, after going a year without a major first-party game, how are they screwing up the marketing and the presentation of this game so royally? And I just get I'm telling you, I get the feeling at the pit of my stomach that internally at Microsoft, the higher ups at Microsoft, they don't see this as problematic because I really think that they're just like, who cares? Like, I don't know that Phil Spencer feels this way. Like, maybe Phil understands. I'm not sure. But I just get the feeling that these executives, like, the only reason Xbox still exists and is allowed to exist underneath Microsoft is because at one point along the way, the higher ups at Microsoft were convinced we can turn Xbox into a potentially profitable subscription service one day. Like, it can eventually become profitable. See, the reason why that's so appealing to the executives at Microsoft is because everything that Microsoft does, their entire business model is based around subscription services. They are a software company after all. So it makes sense that this is how they're going to, go. This is the direction they're going to go in with Xbox going forward. And it sounds fine. But I'm telling you, I get the feeling that these higher up executives, like, I don't think Phil Spencer can turn to Satya Nadella and say, listen, Satya, I know that Redfall was supposed to be ready to launch this quarter, and it was supposed to help with our Game Pass subscribers. And I know we paid a lot of money to own them and to buy them, but I think they're going to need a couple more months with this game. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I'm telling you. Like, Phil Spencer won't ask for that because I think Phil knows, like, they're not going to fucking say, okay. They're going to say, what are you doing? You just paid $7.5 billion for this publisher. Like, they've been working on this game for you. Like, what do you mean? Like, you guys have went a whole year without a major first-party Game Pass. At what point? At what point does Phil Spencer's leadership come into question? I know the sights have been on Jim Ryan, and I get that. Justifiably, people have been looking at Jim Ryan and be like, what are you doing, man? But at what point do people start to wonder, like, does Phil Spencer, is he actually a good leader? Because I'm telling you, I have yet to see that. If Phil's a good leader, he's going to come out here and he's going to announce the delay of Redfall. Maybe this is strategic. Maybe they want to put this out here, create a big stink, so that way they can be praised and everybody can pat them on the back when they're like, you know what? We heard you. Really? Again, though? Like, didn't you hear us with Halo? I thought you understood. Like, I thought you understood with Halo what's supposed to happen here. It's all a show, man. And it's sad. That's what makes me so frustrated, is it's just like, you know, everybody was saying like, oh, 343 and Microsoft did the right thing delaying Halo. Like, yeah, after they got fucking crushed, dude. Crushed. And that's fine. Like I said, fool me once, shame on me. Or no, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I think that's how it goes. Starting to lose my steam here. But really, that's what it feels like. It just seems to me like they're just, I don't know, man. Like, to me, this is about hitting deadlines. This is about I mean, it doesn't look good, dude. How is Phil Spencer going to go to Satya Nadella? How is he going to go to the board of Microsoft and basically say, like, we need to delay this? We're not going to get the Game Pass subscribers that we thought we were going to get this quarter again. How are they going to look? Well, Xbox console sales are down. They're matching Xbox One sales. We're not seeing massive growth in subscriber count. I'm being fucking serious when I say, like, at what point is it like this shit isn't working? This shit isn't working. Phil Spencer's plan isn't working the way he thought it would. Yeah, the initiative was a complete mess of a studio. Apparently now we're hearing Perfect Dark's going to be a remake. And no, Wrestling Mark, I'm not assuming numbers. Actually, if you go check Benji's sales. Xbox hardware down 18%. Down 18%. Confirmed. It's in line. It's in line with the Xbox One console sales. Dude, imagine. You want to know how bad it really is? Check this shit out. Imagine spending $7.5 billion on a publisher and then buying another publisher for $68 billion. Imagine doing that and still finding out, dude, your console's selling the same as the Xbox One. What? Like, I'll be honest, dude. If I was Phil Spencer, I would be sweating. Like, what? Excuse me? Like, wait, hold on. That's insane. That is unfathomable. Now, people might say, well, it's because they still haven't released the games. The clock is ticking. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see it? Are you seeing it now? The clock is ticking. The clock is ticking. And Redfall doesn't have a 60 FPS mode. What is happening, bro? People think I'm over-exaggerating this shit. Dude, I'm telling you, if Microsoft doesn't fucking turn it around quick. I'll be honest. I think Microsoft is putting everything into Activision Blizzard. I think that's obvious. I gotta be real with you guys. I think Microsoft is putting everything. They're hedging all of their bets for Xbox's entire future on Activision Blizzard. Because I don't know, man. I get this feeling that when they first, I don't know, when they bought Bethesda, I think that they were confident, like, this could help us. Like, this could help. And I think, yeah, it makes sense. This could help us. This could help Game Pass. But I really think now it's like, and, you know, to be honest, Microsoft's president, Brad Smith, he said it himself. we we need Activision Blizzard. Like, we need Call of Duty. We need this publisher. We need to own them to make Game Pass successful. He literally said this himself to the regulators. You know? That says it all, dude. That's why I've been bitching out Sony so much. Because Sony makes it sound like, well, we need Call of Duty too. Like, dude, you want Call of Duty, yeah. Call of Duty is a big revenue stream, yeah. But you need it to live as a business? Come on. All right, let me see. Luigi, you're saying, thank God this game isn't coming out on PS5, LOL. Well, to be honest, I don't know, man. If Redfall did come to PS5, I think it would be a good look for Microsoft, but I don't know how well it would sell. I don't think it would do huge numbers. Like, I expect it if Starfield were to release on PS5, I think it would do big numbers. I don't think Redfall is going to do big numbers. But Player One, you're saying Call of Duty will soon be 30 FPS. Oh my God. No way. Nuh-uh. That'll never happen, bro. That'll never happen. That's no. Even I can say that'll never happen. Even under Microsoft, that'll never happen. Call of Duty it needs to always be 60 FPS. Luigi, again, you're saying I fully expect them to F up Activision Blizzard games too now. Well, the thing is, here's the problem, okay? This is the thing that I want to highlight. When we heard that Microsoft was going to be buying these big publishers, like Microsoft's buying Bethesda, and then next they're buying Activision Blizzard, a really good question was brought up by a lot of people, and it's a really good question, and that is, how the hell is Xbox going to manage this shit? That is insane. That's an insane amount of studios to manage. And Microsoft has already proven that they struggle to manage their own internal studios. So the answer to that is, well, they're going to let them be autonomous and they're going to let them do their own thing. And that's good. However, that also poses a risk. And this is a risk that I really am beginning to wonder if, was it worth taking? We'll find out. The risk is, okay, if you're choosing to let a publisher that you purchased be autonomous because you really don't have the bandwidth to manage them yourself, you gotta hope that they don't fuck up. That's what they now. Mike, it's the hope now is that Bethesda doesn't fuck up. The hope now is that Activision doesn't fuck up. I mean, I've pointed out over and over again that Call of Duty doing as well as it does every year is an anomaly. Like, that's not normal. Okay, that's why it's considered so coveted in the gaming industry, because it's like, how have they not fallen yet? Like, how have they not really screwed up? And the assumption is that they're not going to. The assumption is that they've been doing it this long for 20 years. They could do it for another 20, right? Like, this can just keep going. And maybe it can, but I do, that's the risk, man. The risk is Microsoft has to turn to Activision, turn to Bobby Kotick. Why do you think there's conversation that Bobby Kotick is going to stay at Activision when it's all said and done? Because, dude, you think Microsoft isn't scared shitless that, like, hold on now. This is the man that he sounds like a shitty dude, terrible guy. But this is the dude who saved Activision. This is the dude who has run Activision this entire time. And this is the dude that has been in charge this entire time of Call of Duty and everything else under Activision and Blizzard. You think Microsoft isn't scared shitless about what's going to happen when he's no longer in charge and they had to put somebody else in there? I'm telling you, these are things that people don't think through. They just think, oh, this is great. Microsoft's going to can Bobby Kotick, get his ass out of there. It's like, dude, the guy has serious issues. The dude is despised by everybody. But I think people also fail to forget there's a reason why he's in the position he's in. Shitty person can still be good at what they do. I'm telling you, man. there's a real possibility. No one is talking about this. No one wants to talk about it because everybody wants to talk about how good it is. And I'm not saying this because I want it to happen. Because I'll be honest, this would be scary. Like the picture that I'm about to paint, people may say it's fear mongering. I don't really know why they would assume that like everything's just going to be peaches and cream. Like there's literally no guarantee of that. There never is. But everybody's talking about how great it's going to be. Like, oh, we're going to get Call of Duty and Game Pass. And I get it. Like from the consumer perspective, you're focused on the thing that matters to you most. But let's consider for just a moment, because not a lot of people are. What if this doesn't work? Like, what if it turns out Microsoft bit off way more than they could chew? They've done it before. We've witnessed it many times in the past with Microsoft, and a lot of companies do this. It does happen. What if it turns out they bit off more than they can chew? What if it turns out that Microsoft is in a conundrum right now because they're like, well, we bought Bethesda. And, you know, we assume that they knew that they're good and they know what they're doing. Redfall's not ready. We said that we're going to let them be autonomous and do their own thing. So now, dude, now I'm telling you, Microsoft is trying to figure out, like, do we step in? Like, how's that going to look? How's that going to make all the development teams at Bethesda feel when you told them, like you said, if we buy you, you're autonomous. You can do what you want. And then like a year and a half later, it's like, actually, we're stepping in now. What the fuck are you guys doing? I'm telling you, dude, these are problems. They all come down to the same thing. Even with what Arcane is experiencing right now. Thank you. Yeah, Geronimo says these conversations are definitely happening. Yes, they are. Yes, they are, because they have to happen. They have to. This was a very calculated tweet that the Redfall account put out. Okay? And this all stems back to the same thing. It's been the crux. It's been the heart of the problem. And also the heart of the solution the entire time. And this is not just about Microsoft. This is about the entire video game industry. This is about every single major video game publisher. And this is why I have supported Sony the way I do. It turns out that the single most important thing, the two single most important things in this industry are as follows: talent and the management of that talent. Without those two things, if you can't get those two things locked in, you're fucked. There's no way around it. You're fucked. Look at any video game publisher. If they have the talent, but they lack proper management of that talent, what happens? We see beloved studios like BioWare, like 343 Industries, wither and die. Studios that once had just massive amounts of talented people there, talented developers making some of the greatest games, and because management failed them, they walk away, and suddenly the talent no longer exists. And they're a shell of their former self. This happens all the time in this industry. You can see it. Okay? So what happens if you have proper management but lack of talent? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. If there's nothing to manage, well, then there's nothing to manage. If you don't have the talent, management can only do so much. You can't, you can polish a turd, but at the end of the day, it's still a turd. I know that's a brutal saying, but it's true. And that's how life works. And people don't want to hear that, but that is the honest to God truth. That is how life works. It turns out that to be a top tier video game publisher that isn't constantly struggling, it's not easy. It turns out that to get into Sony's position, to get into Rockstar's position, right? And at one time, I think Bethesda was there. I don't know that they're still there anymore. I think a lot of people felt like they kind of fell off. But people are hopeful they'll get back to that point, right? Same thing with like a lot of EA studios. To get to CD Projekt Red, even though, man, I don't know how they got out of the what CD Projekt Red managed to do at Cyberpunk, that is impressive. I don't know how they managed to turn that around the way they did, but by God, they did it somehow. But I think it's because they probably corrected the issue. Like if the issue was not that you don't have talent, you don't have a good game. No, you have the talent, you have a good game. Your management is fucking up royally. Fix that, and you can fix all your. Then you're golden. It's not easy. It's not easy, and it commands respect. It commands a little bit more, in my opinion, than just money. It does. I really believe that, because that's the thing. You think about talent. Look, Joseph Staten is leaving 343. This man, his life was Halo, and he's leaving. Because it turns out that you can only throw money around for so long until the creative force, man, like developers are realizing that they can have their cake and eat it too. You know that? That's another thing people don't realize about the video game industry. Development talent is beginning to realize we know our worth. We know the scarcity. We know that development talent is a resource and it's not infinite. And they know that they can get good money no matter where they go. They know that they have the leverage to negotiate. And that's not good for Microsoft. That's why Microsoft is buying publishers, dude. Do people know that? Like, that's why Microsoft is buying publishers. It's also why Sony's buying studios. Because they're beginning to realize that, oh, damn, this shit is, the talent pool is starting to run dry. And there's like limited talent to go around. More and more people are getting involved in gaming, more companies, more businesses. And that's the funny thing is you see these, like Saudi Arabia, they're like, we're gonna invest $13 billion to become a fucking gaming giant. Like, fuck you. You know? Like fuck you. You think you can we'll just throw our money and we'll win. Like, go fuck yourself. Sorry, but seriously, like this is not how this shit works. It's never how it's worked. It's not how it should work, because if that's how it works and that's how you succeed, the system is broken at its core. The system is broken at its core. People can talk all the shit they want on Sony. Sorry, you're saying language, MBG. My dog's watching. I do apologize if anybody has kids in the room. I'm sorry, dude. Like, I can't help it. The passion's coming through. Like, you gotta call it for what it is at times. MBG, did you just discover capitalism? No, dude. I'm well aware of capitalism, and it's important. It is, but there are extreme ends to everything, dude. And what I seem to discover in life is that no matter what it is you're talking about, no matter how good it seems on paper, no matter how foolproof it seems on paper, you take it to the extreme end, oh, you're going to start to see the chinks in the armor. You're going to start to see the cracks. And you got to figure it out. It turns out that everything changes. Everything is in flux. And if you do the same, if you approach a problem the same way every time, and you treat the problem the same way every time, chances are there's going to come a time where what once worked doesn't work anymore. Now you got to change it up. And I think we're seeing that. I think we're seeing that in the industry. I think that's why there seems to be such a lack of creativity, a lack of innovation. Everybody's chasing either mobile gaming, live service gaming, microtransaction-driven gaming. It's all about trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator by how many partnerships can we get, how many new characters and IP and whatever, and the whole thing. And it's not all bad, but it's just like it's becoming concerning with the industry. And it's, I'm telling you, man, like, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. We look at this tweet right in front of me. Redfall launching on Xbox consoles with quality mode only, 30 FPS. Obviously, everybody's unhappy. People are mad. People are unhappy. People are disappointed. Xbox fans are upset. I have a question to the Xbox community. Okay? How is Microsoft's money going to help you now? If you want 60 FPS in Redfall, how is Microsoft's money going to help you? Because that's what everybody talks about, right? They say, well, this is how Microsoft wins. This is how Microsoft competes with Sony. They spend the money. They can afford it. Sony can't afford it. You're right. You're absolutely right. Sony can't afford shit like this. Sony cannot afford to buy these massive publishers, at least without seriously potentially hurting themselves. You're absolutely right. How's Microsoft's money helping you here? For those wondering, because I see some people asking, am I going to talk about the state of play? I did talk about it at the beginning. We're going to talk about it much more tomorrow. I'm going to do a whole stream on it. They're going to buy 60 FPS. Oh, wait. Just saying, man. Like, this is why I'm just trying to encourage people. Like, Space D says, stop hurting me. Look, I'm just trying to prove a point here, man. I'm just trying to prove a point. Time is money. When it comes to business, that's all that exists. It's time is money. The reason why Microsoft is clearly not willing, or they don't want to give Arcane the time needed to get this done, is because of the money that's on the table. I've tried to tell people over and over again, Microsoft does not give a flying fuck about your wallet, except to know that you're opening it to give them your money. I've tried to explain over and over and over to this community. I've explained, dude, why do you think PlayStation players, why do you think we're okay, most of us anyway, with spending $70 on a quality AAA video game? Because we know that, number one, just like everything else in life, if you want a quality product, you're going to have to pay for it. If you want the cheap shit, well, you're going to pay less for it. It's because we know, at least most of us have known, and people should know if they don't, Sony's not doing you a favor by charging you $70 for that game. And they're not trying to act like they're doing you a favor. They're just saying straight up, the cost of video game development is going up, and we need profit. So we're raising the price of our games. And the only thing we've said is that as long as the quality remains high, as long as that quality bar is met, okay, you got a deal. I've been trying to tell people for a long time, when it comes to Microsoft, when it comes to the rhetoric about the best deal in gaming, saving me money. Dude, it is now. And that's fine. Enjoy it. But I hope you see through it. Like, I hope you can clearly see what Microsoft's end goal is. And believe me when I tell you, it's not to keep eating the cost. It's not to keep burning through money like it's nothing. It's to make money back. It's to make profit. Game Pass is established to eventually become profitable. This is absolute proof that Microsoft is clearly hitting their limit. Can Microsoft afford to delay Redfall? I mean, let's ask that question. Can Microsoft afford to delay Redfall? I mean, I feel like the logical answer is, well, they're a multi-trillion-dollar company. Of course they can. Yeah, of course they can. Of course they can afford to delay Redfall. They could afford to cancel Redfall. But that's not how this works. You see, Xbox as a brand, regardless of how many publishers are underneath it, regardless of how many studios are underneath it, regardless of how much IP is underneath it, there's going to be deadlines. There's going to be guidelines. There's going to be a way to do business. And that way to do business is here's what we do to make money to lead to profitability. And you can only continue to delay, to eat the cost, to spend for so long until at some point somebody higher up, the CFO of Microsoft, the chief financial officer of Microsoft, is going to start asking questions. Why aren't you guys making any money? Like quarter after quarter, you guys are losing money. When are you going to start making money? I don't know. I have to imagine that's a question that's being asked right now, because if that question wasn't being asked, why isn't this game delayed? Why does this tweet exist? Why are they just telling Xbox players, you're going to have to wait for a patch? You see, people think that the only reason I'm here having this conversation, that the only reason I decide to do a stream like this and talk about Xbox, and I admit my behavior earlier in the stream definitely makes it seem that way. I can't fault anybody for assuming this. They think that the only reason I'm here is simply because I fucking hate Xbox and I hate Xbox fans and I just want nothing more than to shit on all of them. Don't get me wrong. There is a vocal minority that gets under my skin. And yes, they do at times make me feel like, you know what, times like this, what comes around goes around, now you're going to feel it. It's natural. It's the way of things. Happens to me too. I know that there are same people feel the same way about me. But the reality is, I've had such a problem with Microsoft and the way that they have handled things, because to me, it seemed very clear for a long time. People want to shit on Sony's business practices. People want to, even to a degree, shit on Sony's or Nintendo's business practices as well. And we want to refer to this as the old way, the unfair way, the non-pro consumer way. This is the anti-consumer way. That's how this is referred to. And Microsoft has had the advantage, thanks to their trillions of dollars and their willingness to just eat the cost to, for now, get away from that. Because the entire time that Xbox has existed up until 2017, they were doing the exact same thing that Sony and Nintendo were. There's a reason why the first thing Microsoft did when they entered the gaming industry wasn't this. This was the second option. This was plan B. This was, if plan A fails, we got to figure something out. And plan B is risky as shit. Plan B right now is Game Pass, it's buying publishers, and it's, this has got to work out. This has got to work out. Because we've tried to get our shit together. We've tried to put out our own exclusives. We tried to sign our own third-party exclusivity deals. We've tried the whole Call of Duty marketing during the 360 days. We've done it all. Microsoft has done it all. And they could never get Xbox to a profitable state. At least if they ever did, it was very short-lived. They could never do it. And so now what they're trying to do is convince everybody out here that, well, it's because that business model is anti-consumer. Yeah, that's it. It's anti-consumer. Yeah, we didn't lose. It's anti-consumer. And it's like, you know what? That's some good-ass marketing. That's some good-ass marketing. Because if you're a consumer, they ain't lying. I'm paying $10 for Game Pass. But I promise you, it's been happening. It will continue to happen. It will continue to happen. Pay attention to Xbox in the coming years. And you're going to see that it's not as glorious as they want to portray it, man. It's not as pro-consumer as they want to portray it, because this is Microsoft's idea of pro-consumerism. We bought a publisher. We own this game. We're going to cancel the PS5 version, and we're going to make sure the Xbox Series X version launches before it has a 60 FPS performance mode. That's their version of pro-consumerism. Because, hey, you're paying $10 at the end of the day, well, hard to argue with that. Sorry, man. Microsoft can fucking keep it. I think this is absurd. I do. Like I think it's absurd that Sony is considering trying to chase. I don't think they're trying to chase this model, but I don't know, man. I know Sony has a fear of like, well, what if Game Pass does succeed? Like, dude, even if it does, you can't do that. So don't even worry about it. Really. I mean, like what you're doing with PlayStation Plus Extra, that's fine. That's a good in between, I think. But Sony's focus has been on talent. Sony's focus has been on being a profitable business. Sony's focus, believe it or not, I mean, for as much shit as they get, and again, Sony is not perfect. Sony has issues. They have problems. They definitely have communication problems. But Microsoft has basically conditioned people into thinking that gaming is like a charity, where it's like, you don't have to pay shit to get these games. And it's like, okay, how's that work? And Microsoft's like, well, we got you covered. I'm going to get to your super chats, guys. I apologize. Like, Microsoft's like, we got you covered, man. We got you covered. Don't worry. And I don't fault anybody for falling for that. Like, yeah, you do got me covered and you're saving me money. But I'm going to read your super chats. I'll end it here and I'll get to the super chats. The point I'm just trying to make is that, dude, when are people going to wake up and realize that until Game Pass starts getting like massive amounts of subscribers, where every month Microsoft is announcing, we've hit a new milestone for Game Pass. They don't talk about Game Pass numbers. This is why. It's not growing the way it should. They're struggling, and they are desperate. Microsoft is absolutely desperate to get games like Redfall out the fucking door to get some type of Game Pass growth so they can report to their CFO and their CEO and say, see, positive growth. We told you this would work. We told you, so they could save their asses, because there's a fucking reason Microsoft back in 2017 questioned Phil Spencer and said, I need to know why we still have the Xbox brand. I need you to tell me why we shouldn't shut this shit down right now. And as far as I can tell, the last time Sony ever approached that potential point was with the PS3 era because of their own stupidity and arrogance. And they learned real quick, yeah, that ain't going to fly. Make some good games. Make some good fucking games. And they did just that. And you know what? Turns out that the way Sony got out of that position was by realizing that, okay, we can't operate sustainably by just eating the costs perpetually. We're going to have to be profitable. But the way we become profitable, okay, let's start with making some new games. Let's start with hiring some new talent. Let's start with creating a potentially lucrative creative environment. And it hasn't been perfect. Sony's had their mess ups. Sony's released some bad games in that time. Sony's had to cancel some games. Sony's had to shut down some studios. That's the price of doing business. It's normal. But it's crazy that we're reaching a point. Like, people think that Sony, yeah, I mean, look, it is pretty, it's not a good look when we're reading like, oh, Sony's referring to other consoles as inferior in their patents. And yes, Jim Ryan and Sony, they have this aura around and this energy about them where it's like they just come off as arrogant and like they just hate the consumer. Like, they hate the consumer. Like, no, man, they're doing business. And I'm not saying you as a consumer need to cheer that on. You don't. You don't have to cheer on a business trying to be profitable. The only thing I'm encouraging is to just understand that Sony is not a multi-trillion-dollar company. And you might be right by saying, well, that's not my problem. You're damn right it's not your problem. But it's Sony's problem. And because it's Sony's problem, they're going to have to operate in a way that makes sense for them so they can be profitable. So they don't get to, because you know what would happen to Sony if they tried to operate exactly like Microsoft right now? If Sony said, here's PlayStation Plus, we're putting our games in day and date, and we're going to start buying publishers, they'd be gone in less than a year. They'd be done. They'd be done. They'd be gone. No way. No way. And that's the only reason Xbox isn't gone is because Microsoft decided it was worth the investment. Now let me ask you this. Do you think a company like Microsoft, do you think that they make an investment like this, $68 billion, $7.5 billion, you think that they make an investment like this anticipating that they're not going to eventually become profitable sooner rather than later? Telling you, man, it's not going to be as smooth as people think. It's not. And there's no easy way out. There's no easy way out. And Mike, you're saying who cares? Look, maybe a lot of people don't care, man, but I'm talking to a certain group of people. I'm assuming I'm talking to people who care about the video game industry to a certain extent. I'm not saying you have to be like the video game industry is it's my life. It doesn't have to be that. But if you have any type, if you've like played games in the past, right? Or you play games now and it's like, you get that feeling where it's like, man, I love video games. Like this is special to me. Like this means something to me. These are things you have to try at the very least to understand a little bit, where it's things are not what they seem most of the time. They're not what they seem on the surface. I'm surprised that not a lot of people kind of turn and look at how candid Sony's willing. Has anybody noticed how candid Sony's willing to be? Hey guys, we're raising the price of the PS5. Yep, we're doing $70 games. Yeah, $10 upgrade. And it all comes off as like, dude, this is some anti-consumer bullshit. And I get it. Like on the surface, it's like that's how it's gonna come off. But at like what point do people kind of realize that, dude, this is how they grow. Like this is how they keep it profitable. I mean, even when Sony raised the price of the PS5, I was even advocating at that time. Like I was like, dude, listen, Sony, maybe you should just eat the cost on this one. And I still feel that way. I still feel like there are times where it's like, Sony, you are a billion-dollar corporation. You're not, I'm not going to talk about Sony like they're not rolling in money. They are. I mean, not trillions, not worth trillions, but I'm just saying that it's like, look, it's as simple as this for me. You produce a high-quality product that I get a lot of enjoyment out of, that I really like. I'll pay you for that. I'm willing to pay you for that. And that's cool with me. That's cool with me. You create a piece of hardware like the PS5 that looks great, runs great. That's where I can play my games. I have no problem with that. I don't expect Sony to come out here and be like, well, do we have a deal for you? Because if they do, I'm going to be like, do you though? Well, what's this deal? That's new to me. What's the catch? What's the catch with that deal? This is the catch. So I'm going to get to these super chats. And one final thing I'm going to say before reading the super chats is I hope Microsoft does the right thing here and proves to the Xbox buyers, not just the players, because there are a lot of people who are just accessing Game Pass and these games through a PC they already had. I'm talking about Xbox console owners, people who went out there, paid $500 for the world's most powerful console. I sincerely hope that Microsoft listens to that community, not me, but the community that is pushing back, and they delay this game and they make it clear that, you know what, we're going to finish this game and we're going to make sure it launches with a 60 FPS mode. Performance mode. That's the least we could do. I hope that's what they do. Okay. Let me see. Time to get to these super chats. Chris Gaming Show, you're saying, why does Sony have to do a showcase? They've been delivering. Well, you are correct about that. I think Sony, as I said, they've been very consistent. I mean, again, not every game that has been branded a PS5 exclusive, not every single game has been a massive hit. I mean, Forspoken didn't land. What's that game? Destruction All-Stars. That didn't do so well. So it hasn't been like 100% bulletproof. But the overwhelming majority of games throughout, from 2020 to where we are now, the majority of them have been really good, I'd say. Pretty good, yeah. Sony's made sure to have content there very consistently, and a lot of it has been high quality. I mean, just last November we got Ragnarok. It's the same year we got Forbidden West. So you are correct in that they have delivered. But the reason why they have to have a showcase now is because, well, again, like they have to start showing games that are coming in order for Sony to get people to go out there and continue buying PS5s. They're going to have to show Spider-Man. And then they're going to have to show some games that are coming after Spider-Man. Because right now, we have Final Fantasy 16, and we're very rapidly approaching that release. And then we're going to get the Spider-Man. And after that, there's really, like I said, man, there's, people don't really know. And you know what I'm so curious about, guys? This is going to be, if this happens, this is going to be the strangest, most bizarre, uncomfortable thing we're going to have to witness. There is a distinct possibility, a really decent chance, that at the next PlayStation Showcase, Call of Duty is going to be there and PlayStation branding is going to be on it. And that is going to be unbelievably awkward to witness. That's going to happen. That is going to happen. And I cringe. I'm already cringing at the thought of that. But we'll get through it. Sony will get through it. Microsoft will get through it. We'll all get through it together. And we'll just... You're saying no, it won't. They paid for the marketing deal. I know. Well, of course. Like they're obligated to finish out their contract. But come on, we all know it's going to be a little like, is it hot in here? Or is it just me? Like this is weird. All right, let's see. Ammo Guns, you're saying no 60 FPS option for any game is inexcusable at this point. Not to mention, people were already skeptical about Redfall before this news. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what confuses me the most is that it's true. Like a lot of people were on the fence about Redfall. I mean, I know that it's not just me talking about Redfall. There were a lot of people who don't have a preference for PlayStation that were like, I don't know. I don't know. Like they are on the fence about it. And I'm pretty confused and I'm kind of perplexed that Microsoft was willing to announce this for a game that's like already kind of, it needs goodwill. It needs positivity. It needs people to get excited, not this. It's very confusing to me, man. I don't understand. Mepsic, a member for 31 months. Thank you, man. You're saying, did the State of Play start already? No, the State of Play is happening tomorrow, so no worries about that. I will be streaming it, like I said. Yeah, so the State of Play is happening tomorrow, Mepsic. Be sure to tune in to my stream. I also want to say, I should have said this at the beginning of the podcast. It's not a podcast, but the stream. I'm not going to be streaming every day. I'm not. This is an outlier. Like the amount of times I'm streaming this week, not normal. At most, usually I'll probably do 1, maybe 2 extra streams a week, but I did a stream yesterday. I'm doing one today, and I'm doing one tomorrow for Final Fantasy, but I still will be making regular video content. I feel like I have to say that to people because I don't want people to assume like, oh, well, I guess he's just a full-time streamer now all the time. No, definitely not. Space D, you're saying PlayStation is offering 30, 40, 60, and 120 modes on almost all of their first-party games. Xbox unable to do the same. It's a really bad look. I'll take the L. Well, that's the thing, man, is like, I appreciate that the gesture, but I don't know that I don't know that it's about like taking the L, it should become more, we should normalize the idea of like, if your preferred company, or by company, I mean like they make a product that you prefer, if your preferred brand or platform is doing something it's just really not that good, like it's just objectively that this is not ideal, this is not great. It should become, we should normalize, just rather than taking the L, just say this sucks and this shouldn't be like this. But I get it. It's like, it's hard because if you're, if you're really rooting for a product or a platform that you are passionate about, yeah, it can feel like a lot of times like you don't want to have to come out and be like, well, this sucks, because you thought it would go the other way. You thought it could go like, yes, like this is good, right? Like I'm expecting this to be good. And so Space D, we'll see, man. We'll see what happens. We'll have to see if We'll have to see if Starfield ends up, if a similar situation ends up happening. Because here's the thing: is like I've seen a lot of. I haven't talked about this much, but I've seen a lot of people already basically pitting Starfield against Spider-Man 2 this September. It's not going to be in Starfield's favor if, on one hand, if Insomniac's coming out being like, not, like you said, like we have a 30, 40, 60, 120 FPS mode, VRR, we got everything. And then Starfield comes out and is like, we got 30 FPS. Like that's going to be I think that's going to put a lot of pressure needless pressure on Starfield, because there's already a lot of pressure on that game to deliver. And I think if they come out and they're like, yeah, we can't really do 60 FPS, it's not gonna be good. I'm not saying it'll fail. I'm not saying, look, because I see people in the chat, I'm not saying Starfield will fail if it's 30 FPS. No, it'll still do really well, but people are going to be unhappy about that. And this is why I'm saying, dude, how is Redfall doing this right now? Because if Bethesda and Microsoft know that Starfield's going to be a 30 FPS game on Xbox, they should have really made sure that at the least Redfall isn't. Because could you imagine Microsoft coming out and having 30 FPS games in a row in the same year? That's bad for their console, dude. That's really, really bad for their console and their console players. I'm sorry, it is. That's really bad. So we'll see if that ends up happening or not. Kendallfire22, you're saying Redfall is being sent out to die. Bad marketing, poor performance, launching days after/before Jedi and Zelda, yet Microsoft should buy more studios. I don't get it, man. Something else I want to point out, and I'm not going to go on a long spiel about this. I just had the thought, we kind of talked about the fact that it's clear why Microsoft seemingly doesn't want to delay this game. They might still delay it, but to me, it's clear it's because they need to get this out. Because when it comes to a service like Game Pass, it really is all about the content, like the content flow. And the most important content for something like Game Pass is Microsoft's first party content. So I think that the reason why Redfall isn't getting delayed, at least not yet, and it might not, is because they really feel like we got to get this out into this service. Like we need to feed this service. But also because I think Microsoft is maybe encountering a problem where, we talk about all the third party Game Pass deals that Microsoft has been paying for, which is, fine. Like that's good for Game Pass. That's good for Game Pass subscribers. Like, people sending me these lists of games. But the realization has to dawn on people at some point that Microsoft is paying a lot of money for this, dude. And I'm not saying that you should care about that fact, but what is important to keep in mind is they're probably feeling like we really want to stop paying for this content. Like we're dumping a lot of money into these third-party games to make sure we have content month over month. You have to remember that the reason why they're dumping so much money into buying these studios in the first place is for that exact reason. It's so they can have a new game out on Game Pass every single month. And it seems like, I don't know, it seems like it's taking a little bit longer, or maybe even a lot longer than Microsoft thought to get to that point. I don't know what their internal projections were, but it's the middle of 2023 practically, and they're nowhere near having a new first party game out on Game Pass every month. They're not even close to that. Not even every. I mean, this year could be where we get it like every 3 months, but I don't know, man. I've always said to people that there's a cost associated with everything. If you're gonna pay a low amount of money to get into a subscription service, to get a great deal, that's fine. But there's likely at some point along the way, there's going to be another cost associated with it that you weren't fully aware of or you weren't fully expecting. And I would say right now, and for Xbox console players, the price right now, the extra cost is, dude, you're not going to have 60 FPS at launch. That's that sucks. So we'll see. We'll see if Microsoft keeps up those third party deals. Carlos, you're saying I could care less about this. I play all my games on PS5 and Xbox Series X on quality mode. Imagine running to a live stream about this. I'm too old for this. All right, Carlos. Look, first off, I want to thank you for the super chat. Okay. I appreciate it. And I'm not trying to be rude when I say this. I'm not. I hope you don't take it this way. But I just have to point out, dude, you're here at the live stream. You know? Like, just saying. You know, like I don't want to. I'm very appreciative of any super chat I get. Even I get some snarky super chats, and that's fine, dude. It's fine. But it's just like, dude, look, I don't expect people to run to, to a live stream talking about this. I don't. But it's just when you consider the fact that I have a channel, it's based around. You're saying, well, that'll be his final super chat. It might be, yeah, but I'm not trying to be rude. It's just I'm being honest, man. You know, like I feel like at the very least, if somebody's gonna ask me a question, especially if they're gonna super chat, I feel like at the very least they want me to be honest. I feel like the last thing that they would want is for me to just bullshit them. You know, you know what they say: honesty is the best policy. but I don't expect anybody to necessarily run out to my stream ever. But I'll be honest, like what I do expect is I have created a channel here. I've grown an audience and we talk about this stuff. Like this is what the content is about. This is the content to a degree that people expect. Now I admit, I understand that there are people that are thinking, dude, MBG, you're focused a lot on Xbox this week. That seems a bit abnormal. Maybe for some people it's not, but I get that. And that's fair. That's a fair point. I do say it right in my description. I'm a PlayStation-centric channel. It's true. So it is understandable that people are going to raise an eyebrow and be like, dude, why are you talking so much about Xbox? But it's really, I think, for the people who've been following this channel the longest, some people might be new. They might not understand that. Like, dude, I came from Xbox. Like, if you go back, some of my, like, most viewed videos are me basically talking about how, like, dude, I can't take this shit anymore. I got to go. And people remember that. And I've seen people saying, and this is the one thing where I will admit I am taking a massive L on. I know I said we shouldn't be doing this, but I'll take the L here, okay? People have been pointing out, like, MBG, haven't you said, this is extremely hypocritical of me, haven't you said before that you don't care about Xbox? You don't want to talk about them anymore. You don't care about any of their games. You're absolutely right. I did say that. And I'll admit, I was pretty much lying to myself in that moment because the truth is I do find myself caring a lot about what Xbox does because the truth is Microsoft being as big as they are, and the moves that they're making with Game Pass, with games like Redfall, Starfield, and the things that are going to happen in the coming years, I can't deny that they're going to have a massive impact on on this entire industry and on Sony. There's no denying that. So I'm just kind of at a point where, something like this, look, I admit, like, there's a little bit of fanboy stuff going on this stream. There's no denying that. But be prepared, man, because, like, if we see Sony doing something like this, you better believe I will have I promise you, a lot of the people, at least some of the people who are downplaying this right now, being like, who cares? Why are you making such a big deal about this? Why are you streaming about this? Dude, I bet you I put a fucking stream. If Sony did the same thing, if I put a stream up and instead the title was Spider-Man 2 30 FPS only or whatever upcoming Final Fantasy 16, whatever, on PS5, I guarantee those people, they wouldn't be saying that. I will say, though, Carlos, the one thing that I think, you are, it's true. You're saying you play the game, you play all your games in quality mode. Yeah, this is like a non-issue for you. like that is the ironic part about it. It's like, this really is, like, I can understand why you would think, what the hell? Why am I here? Like, what's going on here? I get that, dude. Because, like, if you are somebody where it's like your preferred way of playing games is 30 FPS, dude, you come across this tweet and you're like, okay, So I can't fault you for that one, dude. All right, let me see. Mike Brown, you're saying, tell the people how you played Horizon Forbidden West. Oh yeah, dude, I played Horizon Forbidden West at 30 FPS. I said earlier in this stream, like, I'm not against 30 FPS being an option. What I'm against is the idea that we're gonna expect a game to come, like a AAA $70 game to come out, even if it's on a service, and have Redfall, the Redfall Twitter account come out and be like, we'll get a 60 FPS mode later. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't think, I hope everybody was paying attention. Probably not everybody was, but when Horizon Forbidden West came out, I gave Guerrilla Games shit for their performance mode not being good enough. It was playable. It was definitely playable, and I did play a good chunk of that game in the performance mode. But to me, like when I bought Horizon, I'm like, dude, I want to see the awesome graphics. I would prefer to see them at 60 FPS, but the hit to the resolution was too much. The image quality was too reduced at 60 FPS, and they fixed it. But the point is, like, if you wanted to play Horizon at 60 FPS at launch, it was there. It may not have been perfect, but it was there. I'll tell you right now, the conversation would be way different for that game. It would have been way different if they came out and said, yeah, we're not going to have a performance mode. People would have lost their shit. And that rightly so. It's like, dude, what do you mean? This game's like Horizon's cross-gen. So yeah, it's there, dude. I tried playing Resident Evil 4 at 30 FPS, and I was able to for a good chunk of it, but then I was like, I don't know, I'm getting too accustomed to 60 FPS at this point because there's so few games that actually like that really benefit that much from running at 30. But I tried playing Resident Evil 4 because I wanted to see it like look as good as it could on the PS5. And it kind of worked out for a little while because it's a really slow paced game. Like it can be slow. It's a slower pace. It's not like a Twitch shooter or something like that. But at some point I was like, I'm too adjusted to 60, man. I really am. Like I really am at that point where it's like I'm struggling to be able to tolerate games at 30. I can still tolerate it, and I have, but it's as time goes on. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting as I get older, my eyes are getting worse, but. Let me see here. Domingo 813, a member for 34 months. Thank you, man. Oh, that just shot way down. See what happens? See what I mean, guys? Domingo, member for 34 months. You're saying, hey, ABG, 34 months. Do you think Sony is looking at this and saying, let's keep doing our thing? What is going through Sony's head right now? I mean, it's tough. It's tough. It's hard to say. I feel like on one hand, Sony's probably sitting there being like, finally, people get off our backs now. Like people have been shitting on us all year, and finally let them go. Let Xbox go take a couple on the chin now. But another part of me does think that Sony. I'm just saying. Maybe this is why I shouldn't work. It would be terrible if I worked at Sony, because you know what I would do? You know what I would do right now, today? I'd be tough. That's so tough though, because it's like, well, we just announced the state of play. And we gotta let Final Fantasy have its time. But man, it would be so tempting to be like, hey, Insomniac, if you want to put out a tweet letting people know what they can expect when it comes to the different modes on Spider-Man 2. But see, I wouldn't do it yet, because if Sony is good, come on, because people want to make it sound like you're talking about the same company that refers to their competition as inferior in their damn patents. You better believe they will stoop to this level, and it's funny as shit. And it's fine. Microsoft, I think they take their shots too occasionally, but you see, Sony's got to hold off. What Sony needs to do right now is just keep doing their thing. Sony's going to save that Spider-Man 60 FPS, 120 hertz mode, 40 FPS. They're going to save that tweet for if Starfield comes out and announces it's going to be 30. And that's going to be an interesting time for sure. But right now, I think truthfully, Sony probably isn't paying too much attention. They're like, if they come across this, they're probably like, well, that sucks. I think right now Sony's just focused on seeing how their Final Fantasy XVI State of Play is received tomorrow. I'm sure they're going to be right now. They're probably, if the thing that Sony's most likely focused on right now is how many more pre-orders they're about to get for Final Fantasy 16 after tomorrow. Like that's probably the number one thing they're focused on. And that, they should be. Keo, thank you so much for gifting a membership. Yeah, guys, if you're able to gift memberships, I'd really appreciate that. Memberships are really good for me and they help the channel. The reason why they're so good is because they're more consistent. If people can basically pledge a certain amount each month to support what I do here, that helps a lot. Don't get me wrong, super chats are incredible as well, and they go a very long way in helping the channel. But if you feel so inclined and you want to help support, either consider becoming a channel member or gifting some channel memberships. I'd really appreciate that. So thank you for that, man. Daryl, you're saying your paycheck from Sony should be available Friday. Good news. Guess I'm getting paid early this time. Oh, man. No, but dude, like, I'll tell you right now, man, Sony would never write me a check for anything. Daryl, I get it, man. I understand how it looks, but I also, again, I try to encourage people to pay attention to the fact that, dude, I'm just as hard on Sony as I am. I'm harder on Microsoft because I think they deserve it, but I'm really hard on Sony as well. There are times where Sony will never like give me review code. Like I'm absolutely blacklisted by Sony. There's no doubt about that. And that's because I'm not afraid to, if they're doing something dumb or saying something dumb, like I'm not gonna come out here and be like, oh well, it's fine. No, it's just like what Redfall's doing right now with their game isn't fine. Sony does things too that aren't fine. And I get it, like there are some really hardcore PlayStation fans that don't want to hear me say anything bad about PlayStation, but it is what it is, dude. Like I'm not here to please a certain group of fanboys. I'm not here to please Sony. I'm here to talk to my audience and have a conversation and discussion and rant, go crazy sometimes. It's fun though. It's fun. I enjoy it. Gavin House, thank you. Thank you for gifting a membership, man. I appreciate that. Gavin House gifted 1 MBG membership. Just out of curiosity, and I'm just trying to make sure. I noticed Chris B, you also just gifted a membership as well, which is awesome. Thank you for that. Just confirm to me, is it giving you the option, just because I got to make sure it's not something I have like disabled, is it giving you the option to gift more than 1 membership? I'm sure it does, but I'm just asking because I don't see it on my end. There's like no options. And it is, Chris, you're saying it is? Okay. Just making sure because I didn't want to. Yeah, I don't know what it goes up to. Again, I'm pretty new to the whole like gifting memberships thing, but I know it's been available on YouTube for a little while now. I just never really like looked into it too much. Up to 50? Damn, that's crazy. That's a lot. Yeah, so I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the support. Aaron Yogurt, you're saying, I'm pretty sure the saying goes, fool me once. Yeah, but it's on Game Pass. Fool me twice. Yeah, but it's on Game Pass. For a second, I didn't realize where that was going, but that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's funny. Good one. All right. Yeah. I like that. I like that. Fool me once, it's on Game Pass. Fool me twice. Yeah, it's on Game Pass. Sheik, you're saying you don't support Xbox and barely Sony. Hashtag checklist gamer. I mean, that's the thing though, man. Like, I want you to think about this for a second. You say I don't support Xbox, but in reality, I'm giving Xbox a lot of publicity. Like, I'm not saying that like my channel's that big. Trust me, like small fry here. But I'm just saying, like, all publicity is good publicity. The reality is, dude, I'm trying to advocate here for Xbox Series X owners. As crazy as that sounds. Like, you say I don't support Xbox. I guess you mean monetarily, like I'm not going out there and buying their games or I'm not subscribed to Game Pass. Fine, that's fair. That's fair. Some people might say I shouldn't talk about them because of that. Well, I say to hell with that. I'm not allowed to talk about things unless I'm investing money into them. What? That's weird. That's weird. Like, why does it have to work that way? People should be allowed to speak their mind and say what they want. Listen, if you're the type of person that says, I ain't listening to somebody who's not subscribed to Game Pass talk about Game Pass, that's totally fair. That's absolutely within your right to have that stance and opinion, and more power to you. But yeah, I'm going to talk about things. And the only thing I'm really advocating for right now, and if you don't believe me, go listen to what a lot of Xbox fans are out there saying. I'm advocating for them, those who bought the Series X console. They should not have to be reading a tweet like this after spending $500 on a console that was marketed to them as the world's most powerful. Absolutely not. Go back here. Look. I'm going to bring it up again. Aaron Greenberg's tweet. All right. That's me advocating for Xbox owners. Let me see here. Waved Max, you're saying, what if this is another strategic decision from Microsoft to look weak on the ABK deal so they can 100% get it done? No ABK deal talk again though, please, MBG. Yeah, no, I'm not diving into that. Dude, look, man, I'm sure there are still times we're going to be talking about it. I'm sure there are going to be times we talk about it. There are going to be times where we bring it up, but I feel like that's why I'm so eager to talk about this Redfall thing, because it's like, finally, it's not a Activision Blizzard deal thing, you know. But the truth is, dude, I don't think this is gonna do much, you know. That would be really strange to me. Like, the idea that, like, Microsoft is like, let's announce our 30 FPS mode for Redfall to look weak. Like, that's taking things to another level in which I'm like, what? You know, like, I don't imagine, like, regulators being like, oh my God, look at that. They can't even get 60 FPS on their upcoming game. They must really suck. We should just let them have it. Like that. I don't think that's how it's going to work. I don't. So it would be funny though. It would be pretty funny if that's what was going on. Mepsic, you're saying, honestly, Nintendo is so underrated. We got Zelda Tears of the Kingdom dropping soon, and they just released an awesome Mario movie. The true kings are silent and let their work speak for itself. Yeah, it's true, man. Dude, that Mario movie is blowing up. Huge. I don't think it's necessarily a surprise, but I saw that it didn't get like great reviews. And everybody was like, oh my God, the Mario movie's not getting great reviews. And everybody was like, dude, it's going to do just fine. And it's doing just fine. And yeah, they got Zelda coming up. So yeah, dude, Nintendo's trucking along. Nintendo's doing their thing. And yeah, they're not really involved in any of this conversation. Plus on Black says, I've been here before MBG had a face. Yeah, dude, you've been here a long time then. Appreciate that. Boycott Activision. Nice name, dude. Boycott Activision says, what's scary is the first video game industry crash was brought about by laziness, oversaturation, and factory-style game development. I see this from all three companies. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that Sony has to, I think, just speaking about them, they have to try to make some changes in some areas to create a little bit of a, like, more diversity for sure. I don't think Sony's formula is getting stale. I just think that it is becoming a little bit too noticeable with like each release. I still like it, and a lot of people still do. But Sony, I think, does realize that they run the risk. Like, if every single game you put out is a third-person, narrative-driven, over-the-shoulder, open-world game, you know, like, there's going to have to be a little bit more diversity in there. And I think that that's what Sony's working on, at least hopefully. You know, Microsoft and Nintendo, it's hard to say, man, because I'll be honest, and I don't mean this as a slight to Nintendo, but like, Nintendo kind of releases the same games over and over and over again, and people are like totally fine with it. You know, people are totally fine with it. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying, like, that's just how it is. And with Microsoft, I don't know, man. Like, when I look at Nintendo, I see it's a situation where it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Can't blame them. Like, dude, people eat up the Nintendo games. and they love it. Can't blame them and they still do extremely well. So it's like, yeah, dude, if I'm Nintendo, I'm like, well, let's just keep it going then. Microsoft has not found this yet. They haven't. They haven't found it yet. Sony has found it. I think that Sony is not in the exact same position that Nintendo is. Like, I don't think Sony could just perpetually kind of put out the same type of games and be okay over and over and over again. Like, I think at some point, people like the PlayStation fan base would be a little bit like, but I think you got to start working on some other things too. But Microsoft, I don't know. But you're insinuating that another video game crash may be coming. It could be, man. I don't know. Like, that's the thing with what Microsoft in particular is doing. Microsoft is doing the it's too big to fail thing. And that's scary in a way because it's like, okay, like that might be true. It might be too big to fail. And it seems on the outside looking in like it is. But at the same time, like, there's always the possibility of failure. Always. Even if it's unlikely, it's still there. And this is like it can easily go from this is too big to fail to this is so big if it fails, oh shit. Like it can go from one to the other very quickly, unfortunately. And we'll see, man. We'll see what happens with the industry. Halo EG, you're saying, wonder what Dealer Gaming's excuse will be this time. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't listen to Dealer or many others. Like, honestly, I reacted to Colt Eastwood's video the other day, but I don't go to them for content or anything regularly. I don't watch them regularly. Because it is what it is, man. Like, I feel like there's a certain expectation, and I feel like even with me, there's a certain expectation, and I don't know, man. It's just like a lot of times I think you can see with fan bases, like you can tell, like they want something to cheer on, right? Like they want something to be excited about and to get behind and show their enthusiasm for. And they never like it, me included, right? And many of you, like, we never like it when it's like, you're doing the opposite of that right now. Like that's not what we want. We want to be excited about the stuff you're doing, not feel bad about it. So yeah. Josh, you're saying we are certainly seeing Spider-Man 2 at the next showcase. Are you on? I'm trying to make sure this is lined up. I think I gotta bring it down a little bit. Okay. Yeah, it's caught up now. Josh, you're saying we are certainly seeing Spider-Man 2 at the next showcase. It was announced / revealed the same time as Wolverine. Good chance we see Wolvie there too. Yeah, that would be awesome, man. I would love to see. I mean, obviously we expect to see Spider-Man, but if we got to see more Spider-Man and Wolverine at the same time, that'd be great. I'm incredibly excited, extremely excited for Wolverine, so I can't wait to see that. But absolutely, we're gonna see Spider-Man 2. It has to be at the showcase. Like it has to be, right? Could you imagine if it wasn't? That'd be some funny shit. That would be some funny shit right there. I skipped ahead a little bit. Or no, actually, I got another member chat. Brett Williams, you're saying Xbox doesn't own dev talent. If they continue mismanaging studios, that talent will go to Sony. Studios and publishers are worth the talent they have. Absolutely, man. This is why it's, I do think that Xbox is putting themselves in a little bit of a conundrum potentially because that is true. Like devs will get fed up and leave if they get tired of upper management kind of like jerking them around and mismanaging. And Microsoft is not in a position, clearly, as we see with Redfall, they're not in a position to just turn to their studios and say, go ahead, take all your time. I mean, dude, like, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but like these studios that Microsoft bought in 2018, they bought Undead Labs, they bought Ninja Theory, they bought Compulsion Games, they bought Playground Games, they bought, I know there's another one they bought and I'm forgetting, but it's just like, where's Hellblade? Where's Fable? Where's Undead Labs next game? Where's Compulsion's next game? Like, where it's a matter of, like, I understand games take time, but we're talking about since 2018. Oh yeah, and the Initiative. Where's their game, dude? Where's Avowed? Where is this stuff? That's not me actively trying to shit on Xbox. That's me asking, like, where are these games? Yeah, somebody could say right now, well, where are Sony's games? I don't know. That's why I'm asking for a fucking showcase. I mean, Final Fantasy, Spider-Man, of course, but I'm just saying, like, dude, it's crazy. What I'm trying to point out is that Microsoft is not stupid, man. Like, they can't turn to these studios and be like, just keep taking your time. Where's Everwild? Like, does that game even exist? It's just like, yeah, Sony has been releasing games. This is what I'm saying. It's like, how is this supposed to be sustainable for Microsoft? They can't even get their studios to like, dude, is Fable even in a playable state? I don't know anymore, man. I don't know anymore. I'm telling you, Microsoft has been buying them. The thing that Microsoft has been buying more than anything is time. They've been buying themselves time. They've been buying themselves time with the actual announcements of acquisitions. Like, hey, we bought them. Okay, so we made it through that. Here's everything you're playing in the next 12 months. So now people can ask where Avowed, why we didn't show Avowed, and why we didn't show Hellblade. It's like, here's our intent to buy Activision. It's weird, man. Like, again, like, I think the one thing that their studios have been doing a good job of, I think, personally, since they bought them, is releasing these smaller bite-sized games that make sense for a service like Game Pass. Like, they fit in there perfectly. Hi-Fi Rush, I know there were some other ones, Grounded, stuff like that. I feel like this stuff makes a lot of sense, and they're doing good, but you gotta wonder, like, on the AAA development front, like, dude, where are these games? Where, like, literally, where are they? Because we haven't seen them. I mean, we saw another tech demo from Ninja Theory, and that's fine, but dude, I don't know, man. Sometimes I get the feeling, again, I'm not trying to be an asshole when I say this, but I sometimes I get the feeling the way that Microsoft handles their studios is they're just like they just, like, give them a call and they're like, so how's Hellblade coming along? And they're like, yeah, we're making good progress. We got some crazy technology we're working on, and it's like, um, so you're gonna have, like, a demo ready or gameplay? And they're like, no, not yet. Do you know when you're gonna have it ready? No, we're getting there. We'll let you know. It's like, okay, bye. Like, I feel like that's what's going on, because it's like, how, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how it could be going another way. Anyway, Josh, you're saying they should delay the game. Should delay the game, but still unacceptable. I almost feel bad for Bethesda, but they should have knew what load Microsoft was putting on them in the fine print. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing, man. It was ultimately Bethesda and ZeniMax. It was their choice to sell. They didn't have to sell, and it clearly, Bethesda thinks that they clearly believed that being under Microsoft will be better for them, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if that ends up being true or not. I'm not sure. I mean, it makes sense from their perspective why they would think that, having Microsoft's resources, having that backing. But that's the thing, is I think people sometimes forget that Microsoft didn't buy Bethesda to be friends with them. you know, like, they didn't buy them to play nice. Like, they bought them expecting something. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we're gonna buy you, and we have an expectation, and and we expect you to meet that expectation. So I think it's funny because it's like, I remember when the Bethesda acquisition first happened, it like there was like a highlight between like Phil Spencer and Todd Howard's friendship, and that's fine, like I'm sure they are actually friends in real life, obviously, but it's like, dude, this is business, like this is it's weird because Todd Howard, how awkward must it be if like Phil Spencer, his job is to keep the higher ups at Microsoft, the board of Microsoft happy. His job isn't to keep Todd Howard happy. And, it's like, I can only imagine what the situation must be like if it's like he's got to go to Todd and tell him, like, dude, like Todd's like, dude, we need 6 more months, man. Like, this game is not ready. We need 6 more months. And Phil's like, I can't do it. Can't do it. Uh, I'm sure, I don't know. Hopefully that doesn't have to happen. But, Big Nabs, you're saying stated plays are just contractual requirements. Yeah, there's no doubt with the Final Fantasy stated play we're about to get. Yeah, that's Sony filling a contractual obligation. But the thing is, Sony definitely wants to do it. This isn't like the what was the last one we got? Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League. By the way, still not delayed. That game's supposed to come out next month, and there was a report from Jason Schreier saying that, I think it was Jason Schreier, that said that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was going to get delayed. Still hasn't been announced. I'm almost wondering, like, were you wrong? Like, were you wrong? Is that game actually coming out? That's the thing, is I think a lot of people took the rumor and the report, and they were like, oh, it's delayed. But it was never actually announced. Like, I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure you can still pre-order it, right? Pretty sure you can still pre-order it. And it has a release date of May. I could be wrong on that. You can't pre-order it anymore? It did get delayed? Pre-order never went up. Okay, that would explain it. The pre-order never went up. Okay, yeah, maybe then if that's the case, I feel like it's going to have to get delayed then, right? Maybe they're just waiting. I don't know why they would wait, but okay. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think the pre-order ever went up. And the fact it's not up now, you're saying it did get delayed for polishing? Are you sure? I thought like the rumor was that it was going to get delayed by like 6 months or something like that, or like a long hold on. Now oh, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'll look into it when I'm done. I got to make sure I get through these super chats. Nothing official. Okay. Yeah. Never confirmed. Yeah, because that's the thing. I'm like, I don't remember ever seeing anything. But yeah, this is going to be a big state of play for Sony. At least a bigger one. Because I will admit, like, the reason why I think people are underwhelmed by this Final Fantasy state of play is because they feel like we've seen a lot of this game already. So it's not like that exciting, It's like it's not the same as Spider-Man where we haven't seen, like, imagine if this was a Spider-Man state of play. People would be losing their fucking minds right now. But a lot of people are like, okay, yeah, seems pretty cool. Yeah, let's check it out. And that's understandable because Square Enix has been marketing the game themselves, right? But this is where Sony is leveraging that, like, this is part of their agreement where it's like, dude, a lot of people are going to tune in to State of Play, You're saying you need more, though, Game of the Year. Game of the Generation incoming. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it could be, man. Slang Crocheting, I think, is your name. Saying, do I like Britney Spears? Well, I mean, I don't, dude. That is the most random super chat, bro. I don't even know what to. No, I not really. I don't listen to her music. I've never really been into her music. I don't listen to music like that. I don't have anything against her. I don't know anything about Britney Spears. So, I don't know, man. This dude's like, what's the best way I could just derail this entire conversation? That's a good. I mean, that's effective, bro. That's effective. It's not toxic. It's not intentional. It's not intentional. Seemingly, it's just like, do you like Britney Spears? It's a yes or no question, MBG. Do you like Britney Spears? Like Soundgarden, clearly. MBG hides that Britney loop tape. Again, thank you, Crispy, for the gifted membership. Titus Crow, you're saying, in honor of our departed friend of the super chat, Tombstone. Damn. That's rough, dude. That's rough. Edward Jordan, you're saying, hot take, Sony buys Titanfall 3, courts respawn, and we get it with PSVR 2 support after Xbox gets Activision. That's an answer to Call of Duty going to Xbox, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, that'd be a good one. If Titanfall 3 does end up being a thing, although I don't think it is. But yeah, that would be pretty good, man. That would be pretty good. I do think that. I mean, look, I don't know that Titanfall doesn't hold anywhere near the same weight as Call of Duty, but it would go a long way. I'm telling you, Sony they're going to need a solid first person shooter. They are. They know this. They're working on it. Everyone knows this. So thank you, Edward. Ryan Thomas, you're saying, crazy how none of the influencers that got to play early never talked about the issues. It seems pretty shady and messed up. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't know if I can't confirm that. I didn't pay that close attention, but in my opinion, you don't have. It's not difficult from where I'm sitting to be able to see that, like, yeah, this game has some issues. Again, I want to highlight that that IGN gameplay where everybody's so focused on the way the person's playing the game that they're seemingly ignoring, like, are you looking at this enemy AI? Like, are you watching the animations here? Like, it looks weak as hell. It looks not good. And people, I don't know, man. People are just, I guess, choosing to focus on the fact that the person playing, and that's why, again, like, I went to Colt's channel and I watched his video, and I'm like, yeah, it's presented a lot better, but as I'm watching the gameplay, it's like it's not that much different. Like, you could tell, like, it's being played more competently, for sure. You can tell it's being played more competently, but overall, like, looking at the enemies, the way they're moving, the way they're reacting, the AI, the gunplay looks okay, but it's like, uh, I don't doesn't look that great. Perfect Image, you're saying, did you check the COD mobile deal for Warzone Mobile? No, Perfect Image, I didn't. I did not check the deal. I don't know if I'm going to look into it. I'll be totally honest with you, Perfect Image. I don't know that I care very much. I don't know that I care what happens with COD Mobile. Like, dude, I'm over Call of Duty, bro, and I'll never touch. I've never thought about touching, nor will I ever touch Call of Duty Mobile. I'm just being honest. So I don't know that that's something I'm going to look into. And you know, if that's something that already internally Microsoft and Activision are butting heads with, I don't care. Like, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that. The real, you're saying, if a game is bad, blame Microsoft. If a game is good, Microsoft had nothing to do with it. When Starfield releases, mark my words, y'all will try to find something. No, I mean, look, man, you're not going to hear that from me. You're not going to try the real. I hear you, man. You're not going to hear that from me. If Starfield is good, it's going to be good. Like, dude, that's the thing, is I don't imagine a reality where Starfield isn't good. So I'm already anticipating Starfield's going to be very good. And I'm going to say, congratulations, Microsoft. You finally got one. Like, you really needed this. And I'm happy for them. I could say, oh, well, they just bought it, but I don't view it that way. I feel like, you know, they would have had Bethesda long enough at that point. It's similar to Insomniac, where it's like, I view Spider-Man 2 as a Sony first-party game. I'm going to view Starfield as a Microsoft first-party game. You know, I'm not going to look at it that way. I mean, I'll be honest right now. Like, you say, y'all going to find something. I'll tell you right now, I already found something. It was the first time I saw it. I was like, yeah, this game ain't for me. That's not a shot at Bethesda. I'm just speaking for me, you know? So I made it clear that, to me, I don't see the appeal of Starfield, but I've never seen the appeal. I'm just not a Bethesda RPG guy. I never have been. I never will be. So the only thing the only time you're going to see me like basically look at Microsoft and be like, what the fuck, dude? Like I am now with them with Redfall. Two things, okay? There's gonna be like three situations that occur. One I think is very likely. The other is less likely. No, two of them are likely. One's less likely. That's what I'm trying to say. So the first situation is I'm now anticipating, and I would be quite surprised if it didn't happen. I am anticipating that we're going to find out in the coming months Starfield's going to be capped at 30 FPS on the Xbox. I'm going to grill them for that. I'm letting you know now. Just like I'm grilling, and it's going to be even worse. It's going to be even worse because it right now, dude, I'm telling you, right fucking now, Bethesda and Microsoft need to be looking at this tweet from Redfall, looking at the response and saying, we got to start working on a 60 FPS mode right now. Like, we got to get that in there. We got to get it in there. I don't care if it runs at 720p. I'm going to shit on it for running at 720p, but you got to get the 60 FPS mode because this is not good, dude. This is not, I'm sorry. Like, if you're, at least with Redfall, we can all kind of agree that I don't think that this, like Redfall isn't the game. Okay? Redfall isn't the game. Starfield's the game. So I'm telling you right now, I'm thinking that's going to happen, and I'm going to grill them for it because they deserve it. Xbox fan, dude, Xbox. I think people forget sometimes I am a console player, and I advocate for console gaming because I like it. I know people think that I got such a problem with people buying Xbox consoles. I really don't. Like, you're helping the console market. I think you should buy a PS5 because I think it's the better console. But if you want to get an Xbox, dude, you're still helping the console market. Like, I'm not, I don't have such a problem with, my problem isn't with people buying Xbox consoles. My problem is with Microsoft and how they handle their shit. And again, the vocal minority of Xbox fans that, you know, are always saying weird shit. And so that's the first thing. Starfield not having a 60 FPS mode, that's going to be problematic. I'm thinking it's likely. We'll see what happens. Now, the other two scenarios, one's likely, one's less likely. Scenario number one, Starfield comes out, reviews amazingly well. People are talking about it like this is one of the games of the generation. This is it. This is the comeback of the big Bethesda RPG that we've all been waiting for. Does great. People are loving it. It's on fire. It's doing huge numbers for Game Pass, and I will talk about that. Yes, I will. I will say, yo, guys, remember when we talked about Starfield and we talked about how it seems like it's going to do really well? It's doing really fucking well. We'll talk about it. That's the more likely scenario. That's the more likely scenario. The less likely scenario is Starfield is a disaster, or at the very least, not nearly as good as people thought. I don't think that's going to happen. That's a lot less likely, but I'll tell you right now, and yeah, this is no secret. You guys know it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm not going to definitely talk about that because, dude, if micro, you're so DeReal, you're saying that if a game is bad, blame Microsoft. If it's good, Microsoft has nothing to do with it. Okay. If Redfall's bad, I'm going to blame Microsoft because they own them. They've owned them for a little while now. Okay? They've owned that studio. They've owned that publisher. Just like if Spider-Man's bad, I'm going to blame Sony. Just like if the next Blue Point game is bad, I'm going to blame Sony. Okay? The buck stops with them. But you're right. I will keep that same energy. If the game is good, I will give Microsoft credit as well. I will give Microsoft credit. All right? So we'll leave it at that for Starfield anyway. Who's to blame for Halo? Microsoft is to blame for Halo. Microsoft. People can talk about 343 all they want. Last time I checked, it's Microsoft's responsibility to manage 343, or at the very least, to ensure that they have competent management at 343. That's Microsoft's job. Just like if Bungie fucks up, yeah, that's Sony's problem now. If the next Bungie game is like a fucking disaster, yeah, Sony, that's on you. And you will see people try to say it's not. No, it is. It is on Sony. They own them. Let me see. Same thing happened to Gears of War, though. What are you gonna do, man? The Lightfall DLC? Well, yeah, dude. That's the thing is, I'll be honest. Like, I didn't pay too much attention to that, but I did see that people were like, "This isn't that good." Yeah, dude. The buck stops with Sony, man. Like, you bought them, and you said do whatever you want. You said do whatever you want. So if they do whatever they want, and it turns out it's not as good as people were thinking, yeah, that's a Sony problem, as far as I'm concerned. But I don't know, man, dude. I feel like Sony put themselves in a position with Bungie where, like, if Bungie ever goes like crazy one day, Sony, like, I don't know, they're like not going to be able to do anything about it. They're just like, well, we have it in our contract here that we literally can't do anything about this. You know, like if Bungie comes out and they're like, we love Xbox, Xbox is the best. I feel like Sony's just got to be like, man, we really did give you that autonomy, Bungie, didn't we? Say what you want, do what you want, act how you want. Can't do anything about it. Domingo, you're saying, do you think Britney Spears is a PlayStation or Xbox fan? I don't know. I have no idea. I feel like my gut tells me she probably doesn't play games. Maybe she does. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's so random where it's like it could be anything. She could be a Nintendo fan, you know? So we'll have to find out one day. JC 2013, a member for 3 months. Thank you, man. You're saying, imagine Sony announced their showcase at the end of tomorrow's State of Play. Yeah, that would be really cool, but they're not going to do that. Sony never does anything like that. And honestly, it makes sense why they don't, because it's like you want the focus to be on Final Fantasy. And I feel like if Sony drops a showcase announcement at the end of a Final Fantasy State of Play, everybody's going to be talking about the showcase. Nobody's going to be talking about Final Fantasy. Saying a guy can dream. Absolutely, man. I'll tell you what, dude, here's the good news. All right. The good news is that we're approaching the middle of April, and we're going to be through April like that. Like April's going to be over before we know it. We're going to be in May. Again, the rumor, which I think is to be believed, Sony's doing their showcase before June 8th. At that point, dude, the train's coming, man. You can hear it in the distance. The train's coming. The hype train, the Sony hype train, all aboard. So, anyway, yeah, I think that's pretty much gonna do it for this stream, guys. I don't think I have much to add. I mean, look, I imagine there are gonna be quite a few people commenting on this stream afterwards, being like, well, we already know what they're going to be like. They're going to, what's crazy, dude? A lot of Xbox dudes flock to my channel as soon as my streams end because they want to get in that comment section like quick. I mean, quick. So, guys, PlayStation diehards, don't let me down, man. You get there first. You get to the comment section first. I'm just kidding. I'm not advocating for that bullshit, but it is funny though, dude, because I'll tell you, I don't know how many people noticed this. I definitely noticed that as soon as my streams end that are talking like about Xbox, dude, they're in there in droves, like upvote that dude. He's shitting on MBG, upvote that. And it's like, damn, you guys are really sitting there waiting for me, aren't you? They secretly love us. It's all good, man. It's all good. I mean, truthfully though, like my hope is that the majority of the comments I see, I mean, I can see people giving me some constructive criticism, maybe saying I'm going a bit too overboard here. That's fine. But my hope is that the majority of the comments are people basically saying like, yeah, this isn't good, and Microsoft should delay the game and make sure this is a feature that's there day one. That's what I think. So, Um. Okay. Well. Domingo 813. You're saying, would you accept if she wants to come on stream one day and we find out what she thinks about Xbox and the issues about Redfall and future titles? Um. Well, I normally don't do like guests or collabs or anything, but I mean, look, dude, if Britney Spears is like, "Oh, MBG, I want to come on your channel and talk about my thoughts on Xbox," I'd be like, "Okay, I'm not going to say no to that." Why not? Why not, man? I mean, I'd be interested myself. Like, this should be fascinating discussion. But wait, do you like Lady Gaga? No, dude, I'm not into that kind of music, man. I'm not. Dude, I saw a lot of the images of Lady Gaga in the new Joker movie. And I heard that the new Joker movie is going to be kind of a musical or something. And I'm like, Joker 1, like the first Joker movie was like a masterpiece, in my opinion. Incredible. I don't know, man. I'm feeling a little bit unsure about the sequel here. I mean, hopefully it'll be good. But saying MBG, this isn't healthy for you, man. What? I'm just chatting, man. I'm just chatting. It's all good. Yeah, that the new Joker movie is going to be interesting. Saying Lady Gaga's going to kill it in Joker. Yeah, I mean, she seems to be becoming, or she has been. I don't know if she is considered like an accomplished actor now, which is interesting. Um, yeah, these super chats are getting out of hand. What music am I into? I'm mainly into like metal, rock, all different types of rock. I'm a little bit less diverse with the metal. Like I when it comes to rock music, I listen to like all different types of rock. When it comes to metal, I like thrash metal. I like I mean there's so many different genres of metal. I don't even know what to call them anymore. Like like I feel like I'm really into Lamb of God. And I feel like what are they like? They're considered like groove metal or something. Which is so interesting. Like groove metal, okay. Um I listen to a lot of different uh like rock and metal music. That's mainly what I'm into. Dio fan, yeah, I like Dio. I like Dio. Do I like the Strokes? I feel like I've listened to them before. They're not a band I'm like super into. I'm not like super into them. You know who I've been listening to a lot lately? So as you, I've talked about it before. I listen to a lot of Soundgarden because I've always liked Soundgarden, but I really got into them the past couple years, and they become like one of my favorite bands. But another band that I've always liked a lot, like I've really enjoyed, two bands actually, and I've really been listening to them a lot more lately. Stone Temple Pilots and Alice in Chains. These are bands that I have listened to my entire life, here and there. Like I've constantly heard them on the radio, random in playlists, but lately I've been really kind of diving deeper into their catalog and amazing bands, man. And unfortunately, I know it sounds crazy, but the unfortunate reality of like the three bands I just listed is that all three of the frontmen are dead, and all three of them, well, two of them died of an overdose, and one apparently by suicide, which is really sad. But amazing music, man, amazing music. Um, do I like black metal? Yeah, see, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think so. I like black metal. That's like the really really dark shit, isn't it? I don't think I'm into that. No, I don't really listen to black metal. I think if I'm thinking, see, that's what I'm saying. With metal, there's so many different subgenres. I get confused. Like, which bands are we talking about here? Yeah, see that John saying check out Lorna Shore. Yeah, that's what I mean. I feel like they're a bit much for me. I just listened to one of their songs recently, and I'm like, I don't know if I can get into that. It's a bit much. Rage Against the Machine. Yeah, I've had bouts where I've gotten really into Rage Against the Machine. They're pretty good. They have some really good songs. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. Play Metal Hellsinger. Yeah, I've heard that game's pretty good, man. I've heard that game's pretty good. Yeah, I listen to music all the time. So another band that I've been listening to a lot, because they put out a new album not that long ago, is Slipknot. Lamb of God put out a new album. Slipknot put out a new album. I've been listening to the new Slipknot album a lot lately. I think it's pretty good. I think they're yeah, I like their last album a lot too. I really enjoy Slipknot. Um, trying to think. Oh, I've been listening to Machine Head's new album too. They're pretty good as well. They've been around for a long time. August Burns Red. Mm, I don't know. I don't. They're not bad. You're saying Slipknot's new album wasn't as good as the previous one. I agree with that, actually. I agree. Like, I think their new album's really good and they have some amazing songs, but their last album, holy shit, dude. The 2019 album, I feel like every song on that album was like, what the fuck, dude? Tool, yeah, dude. When's Tool? Is Tool ever gonna make new music again? I don't know. Is Tool ever gonna make new music again? Um, Domingo, you're saying if Microsoft comes out saying Starfield is 30 FPS, the theme of the stream should be "Oops, I did it again." Thanks for the good stream today. Damn, dude, I see where this is going. Clearly, I can now very clearly see where this is going, guys. Damn. Oh no, no, no. Well, yeah, I appreciate you guys showing up to the stream. Talk a little music at the end here. Um, yeah, but that's gonna do it, man. I'm gonna be streaming tomorrow. The Final Fantasy 16 State of Play. So if you want to come check out the new gameplay with me and hang out with me, feel free to do that. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. Like my hype levels for the Final Fantasy stream tomorrow, not like through the roof. I'm just excited that Sony's doing something, and we'll be able to watch it together and stream it. And I'm interested to see like what else they might reveal because I think Final Fantasy 16 already looks really good, but I'm wondering like if they saved some really exciting stuff for this upcoming State of Play. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, tune into that. I want to give a big shout out before I go to every person who donated a super chat. I say it all the time because it's true. I am fan funded here. So if it's within your means to ever donate a super chat, to ever become a channel member, that goes a very long way in allowing me to continue to do what I do here because I really enjoy it. I think it's a good time and I enjoy hanging out with you guys and losing my mind with these crazy rants, but just chatting with you guys as well. So thank you guys so much for doing that. Before you head out, hit that like button on the stream if you did enjoy it. And I also just want to thank everybody for watching in general. If you can't donate a super chat, if you can't become a channel member, that's not a problem. Just being a subscriber, being a viewer, engaging with the chat, having a good time, that means a lot as well. So thank you guys so much. That does it for this stream. After we do the State of Play tomorrow, I'll probably get back to making normal video content. And I mean, I'll have the podcast happening on Sunday. We may repeat some of the topics here during the podcast, though, because that's the one thing I realize is that streaming a lot throughout the week, it really, unless it's like a really, really, really busy news week, which this week so far turning out to be okay in terms of news, it can take away from the podcast topics. So we'll see we'll see what pops up between now and the podcast. But that does it, guys. Hit that like button on your way out, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.